What is happening out there, Roto Scouts baseball fans? Welcome to a Friday show, everybody. A couple of people here hanging out. Sorry we're starting up a couple minutes later than planned. I knew I should have scheduled it for 3:50. Just had to get a couple of these confirmed lineups in. It was like 3:35 when I was putting it up. I was like, ooh, 10 minutes. I think I can get it done. Got to wrangle a cat, fill up the coffee, a couple other things. Just fell a little bit behind. But here we are, monster 13-game slate to get through. Couple minutes ahead of our recent usual schedule, but still behind where I would want to be in the day. So we got to kind of dive right into this one. But hopefully everybody's week is rounding out well. Friday, hopefully you're done already with your work day out there and just kind of hanging out, waiting for the bell to ring. Got a deep pitching board today, at least by comparison to what we had to deal with the last couple of days. No show yesterday with that stupid broken up slate. It was on projections all day long because they went totally different slates. FanDuel going the main contest in the evening, DraftKings starting it in the early afternoon, breaking up the games on the afternoon slate. It was a lot of fun yesterday. Hopefully people got through that one okay, or the various slates yesterday. Also threw up projections for the 2-game preseason football slate last night, just kind of on a whim. I was threatening to do that here and there. That one was kind of just in my wheelhouse. My Giants were playing. First start for Mr. Dart. So hopefully people found those. I threw them up, an hour and change before game time. It was just the last minute thing. Going through the various depth charts took a while, getting it projected out to the guys that I at least thought were going to be out there playing. So hopefully people did well with those. We'll be very much on the ball for the start of the regular season. We'll see how this weekend goes. I'll be at the Yankee game tomorrow. Full baseball projections as usual, but we'll see how the weekend goes as far as projecting any other preseason football, but can't wait to dive into the regular season there. Hopefully your best ball drafts and whatnot are going well. I'm not a big best ball guy. One of these days I'll get into it. But yeah, deep pitching slate as I'm vamping here, letting some people get into the room. A lot of mid-board type options to use. Maybe arguably a little bit short on aces, depending on your thoughts on Brian Wu, Nathan Eovaldi, Max Fried, who's been scuffling the last month and change, Blake Snell, the return of Shane Bieber. There are name brands for sure on this slate. But as you go down the board, I mean, a lot of usability through this territory, and one of our favorite underrated guys like Ryan Nelson. Casey Mize is kind of in that category as well, but interesting pricing for him against a tough Royal squad. And then some interesting arms down this way. Okay, Povich has found a little bit of success. He's very, very cheap, but a tough matchup against the Astros. Nolan McLean had a phenomenal debut for the Mets. Even a Ryan Gusto against like the low strikeout Blue Jays all the way down the bottom, or Brian Bayo certainly against the Yanks at a mid-board type price. Adrian Hauser right here. So there's a lot to work with today. Kenny Woodhouse is liking the look of Jose Quintana against the Giants. That one is coming from right there. Not bad. 87 is a little bit pricey for me on a giant pitching slate. 26 choices. I'm going to land on Jose Quintana at 87 on FanDuel. I don't think so, but at 73 on DraftKings for sure. Part of the SP2 conversation at worst. Let's dive in. All the guys here. 8-game. Pink hand wave back at you, buddy. Kenny Woodhouse. Whoever else is out there, welcome, welcome. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you've never done that before. That would be definitely helpful. Trying to push those up and up and up. Should be enabled for super chats and so on and so forth if you're so inclined. Hopefully you're not bogged down by ads on these shows now. But we are monetized behind the scenes, so I appreciate everybody that got us to 1,000 subscribers. Check out rotoscouts.com as well. Promo is still running. Promo code 5ME gets you behind the paywall for $5 on a weekly plan. It's only a savings of $1 and change on the weekly, but I cut the price a little bit for the end of August here. Under $1 a day. Standard price on a weekly, monthly, or quarterly plan all the time, though. And that gets you access to everything that hits that website. Baseball, basketball, football, hockey, every single main slate for each of those sports, every single football game, all the standalone stuff. If it's a 9 o'clock in the morning game from London or from Germany, we're going to be on that one as much as we're on any Monday night football game or Sunday afternoon main slate. A lot of football coverage at the site. So check it out. Yeah, it's not, there's good arguments to make, and Quintana can still be effective, Ken. My concerns lie with the fact that he's not like a peak lefty by any means, but that's the perfectly appropriate price. to get Jose Quintana in there. No issues with it whatsoever. It's that FanDuel price is a little bit high for the one starter spot. And it's just different the way that he plays as one starter against the board versus as a SP2 against that board. Very different. But anyway, let's dive in. Coming up on 4 o'clock already. No time to waste. Noble RD Entertainment's here. Yo, what's going on? 4.91 implied total from a New York Yankees going up against the arch rival Boston Red Sox. Tight game yesterday, lower scoring affair late yesterday. It was cool, breezy kind of a night in the New York area. It's like a little bit warmer than that today, mid-type temps, but nothing crazy as far as the environment there. 8.5 runs on the board, but Bale pushing some toward the Yankees. No Stanton in the Yankees lineup. They're still playing that game with Judge not able to play the outfield. Stanton will probably be in tomorrow. He played last night. Red Sox, just a 3.69 implied total against Max Fried, who is typically stellar and very good at keeping the ball in the yard, but he's hit some bumps in the road. He's pitched something like a 6.0, 6 and change ERA over the last 8 starts or so. They showed the numbers on the Yankee broadcast last night. But when he's going right, one of the better lefties in baseball, one of the better run limiters in baseball. The Astros against the Orioles, both teams pulling pretty hefty totals in that one. It's Lance McCullers Jr. on the mound for the Astros. It's Cade Povich on the mound for the Orioles. Two talented but super gettable starters. Basically a tie as far as Vegas is concerned. Both offenses very much in play. It wouldn't stun me if either of those guys had an okay start. McCullers been pretty short-started in his last 2 while giving up some runs, but the 6 innings are there as evidenced further out in July. Oh, wait, he's coming off another break, though. Shit. I forgot to pull the it's in the projection. I just forgot to pull the game log for his additional break there. Bear with me one sec. Yeah, there we go. All right, just one rehabber. Went 5 in the rehab. I just dropped that into the game logs breakdown here. Handful of these types today. As mentioned, Shane Bieber, who we'll get to in a sec, making his debut. Yeah, McCullers, another little gap there. Last pitched in the show on July 19th. Made a start in AAA on the 15th of this month. Went 5 innings, faced 21 hitters, threw a solid handful of pitches. So I think we're typical Lance McCullers territory, where we're not expecting a ton of depth, but a talented guy over that stretch that runs into the wall more often than not. I'm a bigger believer in the bats in that one. The Royals and the Tigers. Ryan Bergert looking like a target for some Tigers bats at a 4.68 implied total. And then Casey Mize, another guy kind of after a very strong first half, has hit some bumps in the road, mostly in his last few. Last time out, 4 earned runs, but struck out 10 against the Twins over 6 1/3. Big step up in class as far as the strikeouts go. Game before that, 5 strikeouts, just 2 earned runs, 3 earned runs in the one before that one. It's 3 4s in a lot of them. He had a 6-run ugly day against Seattle back on July 12th. Just been a few more bumps in the road for Mize, but still a very talented guy. The price has come down a little bit. It's just a matter of that low strikeout, high contact KC team on the other side. Low strikeout, high contact, very, very good. Toronto Blue Jays are in Miami. Looks like a good spot to roster some Blue Jays bats against Ryan Gusto. Maybe a few darts of him going back the other way. There's 6 moderately secure innings there. It's just not going to be a high strikeout spot. Not going to be a lot of pitcher scoring that comes with it, but maybe at the right price, he slips through on the SP2 board. And then Shane Bieber, first start in the show since April of 2024 or March even of last year. Tommy John surgery early last year. Looked fantastic going into last year, if you remember. And then has made several appearances in the minors. Most recently, the last 3 starts, 5 innings, 5 2/3. And then probably most importantly, his most recent one on the 15th, got out to 7 innings. 6 hits allowed, struck out 4, walked nobody. But just the depth is what we're looking for there. So maybe not absolute peak max pitch ability here, but definitely some big time upside. And it's a diminished Marlins lineup with no Stowers in it. The Mets with Nolan McLean on the mound, as mentioned, dynamite debut, 8 strikeout game. Did walk 4 in that one, but only allowed 2 hits to Seattle. Pretty good offense, over 5 1/3, faced 21 hitters. No reason to think that he couldn't necessarily come back and do basically that same thing to the Braves with all their up and down and some strikeout in that lineup. And then the Mets are pulling just a 4.22 implied total against Joey Wentz, which I don't necessarily agree with. And I think there's more upside than that for the Mets lineup. Offense in both sides on that one. And McLean is kind of interesting. Miles Michaelis on the bump for St. Louis right there. Pushing a big total toward Tampa Bay, 4.89 implied runs for the Rays. They're looking pretty solid, showing a little bit of power among the obvious guys and just a lot of up and down quality. And then it's Adrian Hauser going for Tampa Bay, keeping St. Louis at a 4.21 implied total, maybe a slight amount of usability at a cheap price on Hauser. Zebby Matthews going for the Twins, checking the White Sox to a 4.07 implied total. Zebby is a talented young starter, hasn't fully found his footing yet, hasn't fully found his depth of start yet, but it's a playable spot. Maybe some White Sox bats if you're inclined to go contrarian with a low-end team that's been overperforming their talent of late. Maybe they'll be on the board for that again today. And then it's Aaron Savali on the mound for the White Sox. He's looking like a pretty big target for the Twins bats at a mid-4 implied total. Guards throwing Slade Ciccone to the Wolves against the Rangers, who are pulling a lot of power upside in that one. Another maybe underappreciated spot at 4.15 implied total. Kind of hoping that one doesn't pop out. Maybe we can get a little sneaky with Rangers bats again. We've been coming through with that one when it's popped in the model a little bit lately. So I'm hoping that's the case today. They're showing up a little bit for us. Nathan Eovaldi on the mound for the Rangers, looking like one of the top pitching options at 3.43 implied total for the Guardians. Carson Whisenhunt is going for the Giants against a very high-quality Brewer squad, 4.81 implied total for the Brew Crew. Whisenhunt hasn't been good, hasn't been bad in his first three, handful of runs, low strikeout. He's okay. He's got a little bit of pedigree through the minors, but hasn't really landed in the show yet. I think we can target him with some Brewers bats. And then the aforementioned Jose Quintana. 3 straight starts of 6 innings or more, pitched into the 7th last time out, 3 straight quality starts. Would have qualified for the quality start, presumably, had he gone one more inning in either of the 2 starts before that, and obviously not given up another run. And then a pair of 6-inning starts prior to those 2. One of them he gave up 4 earned runs, but the other one he only gave up 1. In that stretch, both of those were against the Dodgers home and home series. Faced the Marlins, the Nats, the Braves, the Pirates, and the Reds at Cincinnati. It's not exactly a group of world beaters, but they're not total pushover teams outside of probably the Pirates there, especially when the Reds game came at Cincinnati. Braves game was at Atlanta. Very, very usable in the SP2 category on DraftKings. We'll argue through the SP1 value on FanDuel. 3.79 implied total, though, for the Giants, a gettable Giants team. Definitely an interesting spot. Cubbies, 5.18 implied total, looking pretty solid going up against the corpse of Tyler Anderson. And then it's Ben Brown on the mound for the Cubs. He's pushing a mid-4s implied total toward those hard-hitting Angels. I believe in the upside for the Angels bats at that number with all the power that they have. And it's probably going to be a situation where they get into the bullpen pretty quickly. Brown probably going to go about 4. Maybe he gets to a 5th inning, but probably not. He's been fairly limited for that. He's also been pitching back and forth in a hybrid role this year where he's making starts. He's making bulk relief appearances. So I don't think we go Ben Brown despite being a talented pitcher. He's also had just issues with runs and inconsistency throughout the year. Kid is good, does have good strikeout stuff, but doesn't look like the right spot to get him. Dodgers and the Pods. It's Blake Snell. It's Yu Darvish. Neither guy has much of a track record this year. 8 starts for Darvish, 5 for Blake Snell, but we know what the upside can look like between the two. Darvish currently looking like the more vulnerable starter. Had 1 good one, a couple bumpy ones along the way, or 2 good ones and a couple bumpy ones. So I do think there's a little bit of usability, but it's the Dodgers on the other side with Snell, a little bit more of a ceiling, but probably also a somewhat equal basement given the issues with walks when he goes wrong. Occasionally can allow a little bit of power. It's another spot where I don't necessarily need to target the Padres, but a 3.90 implied total for San Diego does look appealing there. Either one of those starters is on the board. Both offenses at low totals for them, but still playable with all the talent on those teams. The Reds with Zach Littell going up against the D-backs with Ryan Nelson. One of these things not quite like the other. I definitely prefer Nelson against the Reds in that matchup. 4.83 implied total for the Diamondbacks bats. I think we can consider some of them against a very gettable Zach Littell. And then I wouldn't call you crazy for rostering some Reds going back the other way in the desert against Nelson. And we round things out with Luis Morales, a very talented young starter. 5 innings in his last one, 5 hits, but only 1 earned run to the Angels. Struck out 5, walked 2. Capable kid. Has been limiting earned runs in the first couple of outings pretty effectively. The first full start was a short one, 2 2/3, faced 13 Orioles in Baltimore, struck out 4, but walked 5, did not allow a run or a hit over that stretch. So has a lot of talent, but we're probably not getting beyond 5 innings, and it's a very tough opponent in Seattle. They're pulling nearly a 5 total, seems like a stay away. And then Brian Wu, Mr. Automatic, 6 innings, has pitched into or beyond the 6th in every single start this year. 24 starts, 152 innings. Dude is just good. That said, the Athletics are showing a little bit of home run upside. It's probably going to come in the form of solo shot, 2-run home run, fairly non-damaging for Wu. That's your Vegas board. Edward B. from Burgo, North Carolina is in the house. Love it. Greg B. Cohn's here. Kenny Woodhouse saying Fried's been bad for a month and the Sox are good against handedness, but don't feel great about them exploiting that much that they're needed. Yeah, I agree with that. Red Sox definitely good against lefties. Fried definitely bumpy along the way over the last month and change. But that's not something I want to overhype too much as far as the underperformance of Max Fried, and that we'll give it a look. But it's also a pitcher that's very good at checking power, that's very good at taking the home run ball away typically, especially when things are going right. So there's performance against lefties, and there's performance against lefties like Max Fried that you do have to take into account. I would say, probably even if the Sox get to him, it's for like 4 over like 6 innings, 5 and change innings, and then he's out of there, and any further damage comes against that up and down bullpen. So yeah, to your point, I don't know that they're going to be necessary, but it wouldn't stun me if Max didn't have it was another good day where Max didn't have his peak performance. Getting into that pitching board though, a couple of rock solid options in the mid-10s up at the top with Wu and Eovaldi. I have no issues with pretty significant ownership on both of those guys, even on a deep slate. No issues with going to Max. You're getting a little bit of a discount at 91, certainly on FanDuel, and 95, a little bit on DraftKings as well. Obviously, still a high-priced guy to work into the two-pitcher equation on DK. But if he comes out on form, and there's nothing to really think that he wouldn't, then you're getting a little price break there on an excellent option with the upside to get to 7 and change. Blake Snell, just a tough spot against a very good low strikeout Padres team. 10-2. I don't love it at price on FanDuel. Feel like he should be more in the low 9s like Bieber, like Fried. 93 on DraftKings. They kind of got that right, putting him in between those two guys. Bieber, again, you're probably not dealing with 100% pitch count, but it's probably like 90%. If you want to call it just 90 pitches against the typical 100 pitch count, then sure. But it's probably something in that territory, given that he's worked up over a little bit of time here. And it's a still soft-ish opponent. Frisky as the Marlins have been without that big lefty bat from Stowers in there, definitely makes a difference. I think 9,000 is fair. I just don't know if there's a monster amount of ceiling beyond that on Bieber. But he doesn't project uncompetitively. Zebby at 83 at 77. Some bumps in the road along the way, sure. But that is a gettable White Sox team, even though they've been good. Probably ends up burning us again. But 83-77, he is nicely separated from everybody else in that territory as far as projection versus price. So definitely in consideration. Mize takes a little bit of a dip from where Matthews is. Partly created by that Royals lineup. If you had Mize against the White Sox, he'd probably be up right about where Matthews is. But there is an appreciable difference for the 95 for the 83 against Kansas City. 26 and change, 13 and change. It's a good projection. Comes with a little bit of ceiling. But I don't think Casey's going out there and striking out 10 Royals like he struck out in the last game, and he gave up 4 earned runs in that game the other day. Nelson against Cincy, I'm really interested in at 81-75. Just a capable guy. People do not go to him all that much on a deep pitching slate like this. I doubt he's going to get crazy ownership. There's a little ceiling on that number. There's also a little downside, but he is appropriately priced for it, and that's a gettable Reds lineup with some Ks in it. Ciccone, I really don't trust, especially with Texas showing a little bit of upside. You'll note that we're already here. And like I said, it's deep, but it's more deep through these mid-range guys where there's a lot of guys. There's not much daylight between here on the board and here on the board. That's a 3-point difference. FanDuel, that's a 2.5 or 1.5 difference on DraftKings. So that's the part of the board that's really deep. We peak high, and then we have a just big, broad kind of a mountain in the middle. So Ciccone being this high is not necessarily indicative that he's a much better choice than some of these other ones. But he is there. He can break off a decent start from time to time. That Texas team can definitely help him with that if they're off form. They have their games. They've had quite a few off days along the way as well. McCullers, just the concern about a little bit of a short start. I think that's one of those situations where I believe in that as the projection, but I don't think it's got ceiling on top of it because we're probably not going to see him for a sixth inning. Zach Littell, just a dangerous spot out in the desert. 76 works a lot better than 85 on FanDuel. Much more inclined to take some D-backs bats there. Same thing with Detroit against Ryan Bergert. Playable at 8,000, playable at 72,000. More of a DraftKings SP2 option, but I'm more inclined to take Tigers bats against. 62 for you. Darvish gets very, very cheap on that SP2 board, but you're throwing him into the Dodgers and a lot of danger. McLean immediately got priced up a little bit here. 88, 87. Kid's a very high-end pitching prospect. He's got a gettable Braves lineup on the other side with some strikeout in it, with some underperformers. But Acuna's back in it. It's not a safe spot. To have him up that much after one start in the show is a little dicey. Playing with fire there, but I think he's deservedly at the mid-board projection. Povich, 82 on FanDuel. Meh. 6,000 on DraftKings, though. That's a reasonable spot. It's just a bad opponent for him. That heavily right-handed, low strikeout, relatively hard-hitting Houston team. I don't love the spot. I do like the price for the pitcher. Savali, 77-63, another guy. Don't really like the pitcher all that much, but going up against a slightly diminished Twins team at 77 at 63, he's got just enough to give us a decent performance for that money. A little bit more than what's projected there as far as the ceiling goes. But the home run pick of the day comes from the other side of that game. I'm very interested in some Twins bats in that one. Quintana at 87, as we've discussed multiple times already. Don't love the FanDuel price. 73 on DraftKings works quite well as an SP2. Bayo is just expensive to throw into the Yankees, but he's there. He's capable. There is a ceiling on that number. Gusto at 68 at 7,000. Pretty cheap. Hauser is kind of mid-priced for where he falls on the board, but you change that by a point, and he's up here and looking pretty solid. Cards, kind of a mid-board type team. I wouldn't be shocked if Adrian Hauser delivered an okay start here for your money, but I don't love that price. And this price even, bounces off some of these a little aggressively. And then we get into more dart throw territory. Wisenhunt, just, the Brewers have been rolling. They're such a good run creation team. He's very cheap on FanDuel, less so on DraftKings. I don't love that. Luis Morales is probably more interesting than Wisenhunt, just with a little strikeout upside, going up against a Mariners lineup that does still have strikeout in it and significantly cheaper, 1,500 less for that rookie on the DraftKings slate. They're basically the same option on FanDuel and low end on FanDuel. Michaelis, just you'd be looking for him to eat 7 innings here and come away with like 4 strikeouts without giving up a run. And the board is looking very much the other direction on Tampa Bay. Anderson, Joey Wentz, Ben Brown, all kind of meh options. I don't like Anderson against the Cubbies at all. Same thing with Joey Wentz against the Mets. Really not seeing that one. He projects out slightly better. If we sorted by FanDuel, he'd be up here, but no difference there. And then Ben Brown, I just don't think we're likely to get beyond maybe into a 5th inning, but probably doesn't complete it. John Hansa says, clicked on pitcher rankings for Friday, got Thursday's numbers. That shouldn't be. Hold on one second. That's in the table on the website, John? Or you just say? Yep, that is definitely not the correct table. That's why. It needs to be. I forgot I put up the split slate yesterday, and I forgot to change the table reference is back. You get that fixed right now. The download in there was fine because I upload those files directly to the server, but I use different tables for the morning slate and the main slate, and I have to change the reference where I tell it to go look at this table and include it in the article. So I just did that for the hitters and pitchers. You should be in business. Everything in the projections was up to date. Thanks, John, by the way, for telling me. Nobody else had mentioned yet. Or maybe they're shouting at me in Discord right now. Free Discord, by the way, linked in the description for this video. You do not need to be a member at the website or a subscriber here on YouTube. So jump in there, join the community, share your results, ask questions, talk shop, find some like-minded people, as they say. So the Yanks going up against Brian Bayo here. Definitely looking good. One of the top projected teams again today. Just so many hard-hitting bats in there. It's difficult to have them check down, and when they come in at nearly a 5-run total, it's entirely deserved. That said, Bayo can be good. Last time out, 6 1/3 against Miami, just 2 runs. Only struck out 2 in that one, and the 2 runs came on 2 solo homers, but was fairly effective. A bad 5-inning game, over 5 2/3 against the Padres the start before that, but he blanked the Royals, one unearned run, on 6 hits over 6 the start before that, 1 earned run over 7. So he's capable of breaking off depth. He is typically pretty good at keeping the ball down. 8.8 degree average launch this year, just a 2.60% home run rate, limiting premium contact, inducing weak and medium contact. Last year, similar. Little bit more hard hit, but similarly low launch, 2.71% home run in a larger sample. Was a little bit more problematic the year before that, not on launch angle, but just lost some results, was giving up a little bit more hard hit, a little bit more exit velo, and popped to a 3.59% home run rate. But again, home runs are a little bit wonky. If anybody can get to this guy for home run power, it's these Yankees, but only Aaron Judge, notably, is above the magic number in the home run model. No Stanton, but you've still got a very deep lineup filled with home run hitters here. So even if we're just relying on the Yankees for sequencing while Bayo's in the game, there's plenty of upside for that. He's walking 8.4%. He's got a 1.26 whip on the season. Doesn't really find the strikeout stuff either, so a heavy contact pitcher, just 18% strikeouts, 8.7% swinging. So plenty of upside for Yankees base hits, Yankees to draw their walks, get on base like they do, and create runs. When that's the situation, we can see this Yankees team flail a little bit. They load the bases and then 2 guys strike out, or no outs. Somebody strikes out and then you get a double play ball. They're susceptible to that in a big way, but you have to lean into them when they're looking as like one of the bigger spots. Going the other direction, Max 95.91, again, fairly priced, and the season-long numbers are still spectacular. 25 starts, 149 innings, 3.26 with a 3.54 xFIP, 22.9% strikeouts. He's not the biggest strikeout pitcher, but he's always effective. Very limited walk rate at 6%. So the strikeout to walk ratio is phenomenal for Max. It's just the recent bumps. Since the start of July, his last 8 starts, 3-3 record with 41 innings pitched, but only got into the 6th inning twice. That is uncharacteristic for Max. Prior to that stretch, he had 5 straight starts where he pitched at least into the 6th. 3 of those he completed the 7th. That's Max Fried. It's also uncharacteristic over an 8-game stretch to find Max at a 6.80 ERA. But under the surface of that, a 4.48 xFIP is a lot more manageable. It's still not a Max Fried number, but it's still a lot more manageable than that 6.80. So bear in mind, that's the real number that you're dealing with here. As far as the strikeouts, he did dip in that stretch down to 19.3% strikeouts. Walks popped a little bit up to 8.3%. Strand rate has come way, way down, which is obvious with the runs that have been allowed. So a little dip in quality recently, but unless there's some kind of injury or something that we don't know about, Could just be a pitcher who's gone through something, and now we're getting a discount. It's kind of the opposite of when we have a hot hitter, where we don't want to pay the tax for the hot hitter, but we do want to take the discount for a pitcher that we have years of evidence that he is just one of the better lefties in baseball. Vegas believes 369 implied total for this pretty good Red Sox team that does hit lefties fairly well. That said, this version of the active roster is at a 96 WRC plus. Again, this isn't the that's probably bumped maybe by the password in there. Let's see. If we just do the overall, not the active roster, Red Sox come in at a 108 WRC plus against left-handed pitching. And they do have some very, very good bats in the split. Romy Gonzalez, for example, 176 WRC plus. Bregman, 169. Roman Anthony, same-handed, is excellent. Slashing 282, 354, 437 with a 119 WRC plus. Strikes out a lot, but draws walks. Doesn't hit for as much power, but 3 of his home runs. Carlos Narvaez at a 110 WRC plus. Trevor Story at a 108. But then it does dip. Everybody, and some of these are small sample, but everybody in Sedan Rafael and Nate Eaton, Masataka Yoshida, Jaron Duran, Nathaniel Lowe, David Hamilton, Connor Wong, all substandard WRC plus over a very mixed amount of sample size. So top end guys, obvious guys, very, very much in play. You've got the big rookie here. I'm going to assume that you pronounce that Justin Nixon. Not really sure. Haven't heard it said out loud. I've been aware of him for a minute, but haven't heard that actually said out loud yet. Garcia, his nickname's the password. You can guess why. Deadman price on the DraftKings slate, 2,200 on the FanDuel slate. They just called him up yesterday. Willie Robreu went to the IL. In the minors this year, Joker's apparently a fan already. 433 plate appearances, 289, 363, 512 with a 223 ISO, 20 home runs, 6 stolen bases. 17 of those 20 home runs came in just 295 plate appearances after his promotion from AA to AAA. He's just 22. Kid's got a bright future, it seems. Very, very cheap if you're considering some Red Sox bats. I would say, Garcia, Story, Bregman, Romy would be a way to key in and maybe keep it a little bit cheap. And then the hope, if you're just top fiving it, would be that you just take Roman Anthony and people skip him for the lefty-lefty, which they should not. And if you just top 5 that's 4,080 to attack Max Fried. I don't mind that at all. I think that's a perfectly viable version of the Red Sox stack. There's not a lot of alternative there. Maybe it's better as a 3-man where you can kind of mix and match your way through just different combinations of that same group of guys in 3-man spots instead of, or 2-man instead of the full 5. You do run into a bit of a wall. Lefty Duran does have some issues. Still very playable for the extra base hit upside and the contact, but does have some issues lefty. Rafaela has not been as good against lefties despite being right-handed. Nate Eaton, it's a small sample. Typically, we're expecting him to succeed, but he's more just a contact-oriented hitter anyway. Connor Wong's been non-threatening this year. So it's really about the top 5 there. We don't know what that kid looks like, so it's about the top 4, and that's where everybody who goes Red Sox is going to be going. Romy hits everything hard. Monster premium contact numbers, 8 home runs and 224 ISO. And again, just a monster against left-handed pitching. Bregman is only 5,000, 3,400. It's a great option. 16 home runs, super solid slash line, and 235 ISO for him. Again, Roman Anthony. How did that board go? Oh, I clicked into Nixon. Again, Roman Anthony. Lefty, 282, 354, 437 slash with a 119 WRC plus. It's over 79 plate appearances now. 3 of his 5 home runs have come in the split. The ISO is slightly lower than that 162 overall, but the kid has been just dynamite against both hands. And then Story's hit everything hard this year as well. 9.6% barrel, 46.9% hard hit, 19 homers, 22 stolen bases. For counting stats, that is ideal for a very affordable shortstop. On the Yankees side, Trent Grisham, 4,300, 3,200, non-base machine, hitting ahead of Ben Rice, Aaron Judge, Cody Bellinger. Solid option, 43.32 is not a bad price. He's also got a little individual upside given how hard he hits the ball. 23 home runs, a 212 ISO on the season. Rice up to 20 home runs now, 246 ISO, a 130 WRC plus. Mashes balls, 16.7% barrel, 55.1% hard hit, and he's a discerning hitter, sub 20% strikeout, a 10.5% walk. Judge strikes out 25.5% of the time, but he also walks nearly 17%. He's got 40 home runs on the season. Ooh, he's only 98 points better than average by WRC plus. We've spent most of the year being more than 100 points better. 4,900, 3,600 for Cody Bellinger is a good price. 24 homers, 11 stolen bases for him. A rock solid slash line. 224 ISO, a 125 WRC plus. Get that lefty bat into your lineups at Yankee Stadium. You got 4 of the top 5 are left-handed hitters and very appealing left-handed hitters for the Yanks here. Jazz Chisholm at 5,138. Second and third base eligible on FanDuel, just second base, but that works on DraftKings. 16.6% barrels out of Jazz this year, 22 homers, 22 steals. Maybe not the most consistent guy, but monster upside. Major peaks and not that many valleys from him. A lot of strikeout, but he does draw his walk. Jason Dominguez is only 35.29. He's hit 9 home runs, stolen 21 bases, getting on base at a 330 clip, 102 WRC plus. And he's hit the ball hard. 49.6% hard hit. It's not like he's not driving the ball. Just not finding the barrel quite as much as they wanted him to. Not finding the home run ball quite as much as they wanted him to, the extra base hits. But he's been really effective as a run creator and just at the plate. Anthony Volpe, the opposite. Really effective for counting stats. 18 homers, 15 stolen bases. Can definitely rock the ball. 10.4% barrel. Just no consistency whatsoever. 88 WRC plus. Ryan McMahon has been good as a Yankee with the bat. He's hitting something like 250, 260 as a Yankee. And the numbers are up a little bit across the board, except for a little bit of power output. But another lefty who regularly barrels the ball, 11.9% barrels and 50% hard hits. He's got 17 homers on the season. Austin Wells at the bottom of the lineup has been going through it lately. 209, 266, 425 slash is not good. Premium barrels and hard hits. 17 home runs from a very affordable catcher is an asset on DraftKings, and it's very playable on FanDuel. I want Belly in my lineups, but I can get him in the outfield. There's no Goldschmidt, so we're not worried about the first base conflict. You got Ben Rice there, so you can go back and forth with those two and just mix and match to one or the other, or you can use both. It's monster upside for both those players. Ben Rice is the better hitter right now, but Wells has just as much power upside, and it's a key position on DraftKings. Yankees bats. Max Fried. Red Sox bats. Brian Bayo. All 4 things are on the board, though. Don't play asking, I have Fried as my number 1, but 4 as who would you take? Correa, Seager, or Swanson? I'm going to say it's probably going to end up, Correa's right here. Those are very affordable prices for Carlos Correa. I will throw that into the mix. Guy that we like on this show quite a bit. It's a very solid slash line. 105 WRC plus. It's been interesting with the Astros. Hitting the ball just as hard as usual. Just lost a few barrels along the way. Low strikeout. Fairly, medium walk rate. So you get a lot of productivity, a lot of batted ball events out of them. Other ones were Seager's always fairly high end. And then I think my answer might be Dansby. Dansby's only 37. I love this spot for the Cubs against Tyler Anderson. I feel like out of all the Cubs, he'll be one of the lower owned guys on just general perception that he's not been good this year. 95 WRC plus, of course, supports that. Just a 159 ISO is a little down for him, but he's still got 18 homers, 10 stolen bases, solid counting stats. And we know he's quite a bit better than that in the counting stat in the traditional numbers here. 11.8% barrel, 46.8% hard hit, kind of, flies in the face of those. So I think maybe you get away with Dansby in the highest upside out of those three teams. Maybe you get away with him at a little bit lower ownership than he ought to be, even if he's higher owned than the other two guys you mentioned. Any one of those three guys, though, not a bad choice. Going back to the matchup that Carlos Correa finds himself in, he's going up against Cade Povich. Kid's pitched to a 25.5% strikeout rate. That's not nothing. 10% swinging strikes. Has a solid 3.84 xFIP under the ugly 4.98 ERA, but he's given up way too many barrels, hard hits, exit velo. Very, 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 very lucky to be at a 3.40% home run rate. It's also just putting too many guys on base, both via the walk and some BABIP in there. So as a dart at 6,000, you could probably get away with some shares of Cade Povich, but you're throwing him into an Astros team that is pretty good, has a sub 20% collective strikeout rate for this projected version of the lineup. We'll see if we got the confirmed lineup in. Just doesn't feel like a necessary play to go to Cade Povich here. Yep, we got these lineups in. Going the other way, McCullers at 68, at 75. As I mentioned before, I just think we're maxed out at these numbers, considering the on and off again nature of his relationship with the injured list. So we're probably not going in his direction too much. For the time that he's in there, he's more than capable of keeping the Orioles off the board, but he's also been pretty shaky in some spots this season. He's pitched to a... Oh, weird. Only have the correction in some of those. Apologies to his dad. 6.90 ERA on the season. You can see he does have solid stuff, but a 4+% home run rate on a lot of contact coming through him as well over these 44 1/3. Don't know why only some of those have the lookup on it. Walking 13.4%. You can see the xFIP is nearly 5. He's put way too many guys on base, and we're just not getting more than 5 innings. So if he's on form, these are probably your ceilings. Maybe those come down even in the pre-lock update, if I think about it. Orioles at a 4.85 implied total. Astros at a 4.75. I think the bats are more the story here. Jeremy Pena at the top at 46.32 has 13 home runs. Can you make these noises in the other room? What you're doing down there? Yakking on a bone, as Cousin Eddie would say. 13 home runs, 17 stolen bases for Jeremy Pena. Best season of his life. Surprised me. I wasn't expecting him to be this good, but he's been excellent all season long. Low strikeout, low walk, a lot of balls in play. 352 xWOBA under the surface, creating runs 34% better than average via WRC+. Correa, just a third baseman on DraftKings at 37. 2,600 at still has shortstop eligibility on the FanDuel slate. Can definitely take advantage of those cheap prices. Again, guys, just good. 279, 331, 400, a 105 WRC+, a 346 xWOBA under the surface that speaks to how good he is beyond what he's done this year. If he finds those barrels again, that is a major, major bet. Jose Altuve at 5,000, 3,200, 22 homers, 9 stolen bases, 118 WRC+. Remember when we were nervous about Jose Altuve's season back in May for like a minute? Christian Walker at 39, 29 has 17 homers. A down year for him for sure. 161 ISO, bad slash line, 94 WRC+, but still makes great contact. If you're building with Astros, it is difficult to go around Christian Walker. He's just such a big presence in the heart of that lineup when it comes to power hitting, but just has not come through all that often, despite still making high-quality contact pretty frequently. Jainer Diaz at 8.6% barrels and 42.5% hard hits, up to 18 home runs now. Pulling that slash line together slowly but surely, 254, 283, 419. He's going to run out of time to correct the on-base percentage, but he did find some of the good along the way. A 165 ISO, 333 xWOBA, striking out just 17%, walking 3.7, so a lot of normalization there, and it just leads to a lot of well-struck balls. 39 is a good price for that player on DraftKings. Ramon Urias, gettable player with a little bit of power upside, 9 home runs and 331 chances this year is nothing special, but he's a low-owned mix and match type player. You get second and third base, throw in first base for cheap pricing on FanDuel. And then we hit a stretch of Mauricio Dubon, Cam Smith, Chas McCormick. McCormick, once upon a time, was one of our favorite sneaky guys from the bottom of a lineup that could hit home runs that nobody ever went to. It's been a little rough lately. 104 bad plate appearances this year, handful of bad plate appearances last year. Cam Smith at 33-28, 7 home runs and 426 chances, down to a 315 on base. He was holding it together for a while, but it's kind of difficult to see now. Now he's just kind of getting high strikeout, medium walk, not really paying off the on base, down to a 91 WRC+. Mauricio Dubon's a playable mix and match guy, but fairly low quality overall, just low strikeout, low walk, so you get some happenstance. On the Orioles side, Jackson Holliday at 41 at 28. Great pricing, 15 home runs, 11 stolen bases. There are some flaws in the slash line overall. He's got just a 94 WRC+, but he's made monster strides. They're just giving him this leadoff spot, hitting ahead of some appealing bats. I definitely think he's in play against this version of McCullers from the left side. Not a bad way to fill second base, and the O's are a appealing stack at that total. Jeremiah Jackson at 2,500. 21 on FanDuel. Out to a great start over 51 plate appearances with the bat. 320, 333, 420. Not exactly squaring the ball up or hitting it hard. Not exactly creating a lot of belief under the surface with just a 242 xWOBA, but a 109 WRC+, been undeniably productive, and that's a killer spot in the lineup. He's a shortstop on FanDuel for 21. He's an outfielder for 25 on DraftKings. Probably rather have him in the outfield at the 25. Gunner at 52-33. Solid bat at 15 home runs, 16 stolen bases, 283, 51, 467. So we've talked about a few times, maybe short of expectations for him, but if you take the name off the numbers, those are great numbers. Ryan Mountcastle, 34-28. Another guy who hits the ball very squarely all the time and sees limited results for it. 11.9% barrel, 47.2% hard hit across his nearly 250 plate appearances. 4 home runs, a 113 ISO. Those numbers just don't make much sense together. Colton Cowser cashes in on his similar contact. 9 home runs for him in 234 chances at just 211, 282, 390. Needs to find consistency this year. Hit a bunch of home runs from the left side last year on not dissimilar contact. Lost a couple barrels along the way, season over season. But last year he had 24 homers and 561 chances at a 204 ISO. A much better overall slash line. Was just a more complete player last season. Now he's just cheap against a gettable righty. Kobe Mayo is 28-25, 5 home runs, limited slash line, over 177 chances for him, just a 77 WRC+, but another guy who can definitely hit the ball hard. Just hasn't fully found it in the show yet. Dylan Beavers with an 8.3% barrel in his 22 plate appearances, hit a home run last night, 294, 455, 529 start for him, a 179 WRC+. Mix and match quality from the bottom. Luis Vasquez, we've talked about being appealing on a show just the other day. Shortstop and third base eligibility on both sites. Back in 2023, across AA and AAA as a 23-year-old, 20 home runs, 10 stolen bases, 271, 361, 456. This season, in just 174 plate appearances as a 25-year-old in AAA with the Orioles system, 5 home runs, 4 stolen bases, 271, 343, 413, a 105 WRC+. Not a world beater from the bottom of the lineup, but a mid-priced option that does have a little bit of ability is always appealing. And then Alex Jackson, capable of hitting the ball very hard, not capable of giving you much consistency, but 3 home runs in 52 plate appearances, a 333 ISO on crazy premium contact. At worst, he's a mix and match catcher with power upside. More appealing probably at 35 on DraftKings, but that price for him is a little bit up there. That's probably the ceiling for what you'd want to pay. If he was at that kind of price, it would be great. Which way did the stacks board go? I forget. Oh, they're both like right in the middle. Better value rating on the Orioles. So we'll give it to them. Good way to illustrate, I ranked the Vegas totals in there. And just to put those in perspective for people who don't, who glance at it but don't necessarily pay attention, the Orioles 4.85 implied total ranks 4th overall on this slate. The Astros at 4.75, aka basically the same number, ranked 9th. So there's a little bit of separation just in between those two. A lot of the time we run into, the team might be ranked here and another one there, but they're essentially the same. And that's kind of how I would see the two offenses here. But I will give it to the Orioles, then the Astros, and then probably, honestly, Cade Povich over Lance McCullers, just because I don't know McCullers goes beyond these numbers. Royals Tigers. Royals lineup is in. Pretty similar to what they've been doing. What about the Pasquatch on a rampage? I think 4 straight days with home runs. He's up to 26 on the season. Vinny might go for 30. We might get that 30 home run season. 208 ISO on the year. 341 xWOBA. Love to see it. He's made the exact improvements we've been calling for 2 years going into this season. And it looked ugly the first month. And I mean, he has pulled this entire thing together. And it just looks like Vinny Pasquantino plus. Absolutely love that bat. 4,100, 3,200, not correct pricing. Going up against a gettable Casey Mize. Mize, good as he's been, 3.63 ERA, 3.98 xFIP under the surface, kind of speaks to the recent bumps in the road and maybe more the nature of who the pitcher really is. 22% strikeouts against 6.2% walks. Good, but not spectacular. Solid 10.4% swinging, but only a 26.9% CSW. And most concerningly, a lot of barrels, fair amount of hard hits, just under the threshold for exit velo, 3.41% home run, entirely believable. I think Casey Mize is very usable at 83, less so at 95, and you're throwing him into the low strikeout, 18.8% strikeout rate for this Royals lineup. So probably not a good spot even on DK, just in the blender with a lot of those guys from the mid-board. And capable. Wouldn't shock me in the slightest if Casey Mize had a decent day, gives you 6, 2 runs, 6 strikeouts, something like that. But spiking a monster here is pretty unlikely. Ryan Bergert on the other side, 2.75 ERA, completely betrayed by that 4.49 xFIP. 5 1/3 last time out, just 1 earned run in the start before that, 5 2/3, 2 earned runs, start before that one, 5 2/3, another 2 earned runs. In the most recent 2, he struck out 8 against the Twins and 7 against the White Sox, but only 2 against the Red Sox in that third one going back in time. Has been an improved pitcher over the course of the season, finding a 23.7% strikeout rate, but walking 10.7% is a little shaky. 25.7% CSW, just a 9.3% swinging. This isn't terrible, but it's also not good. Saving grace is he not really giving up a ton of premium contact. There's limited barrels, but it is a fly ball trajectory, so a lot of the well-struck balls just not getting up to the right launch angle, cutting the barrels down a little bit. He is over 90 miles an hour of exit velo, which is a pretty key factor here, just under our threshold for hard hits, and 2.79% home runs. A gettable enough pitcher, but it is having a little minimal impact through the Tigers here. You have this stretch of premium power bats on the Tigers. I just lean toward the Tigers offense and that 4.68 implied total. Bergert at 72 in the mix as far as SP2 shares, but a lower end SP2 option on DraftKings. Not really that appealing on FanDuel. Even in these good starts, has not gotten through the 6th. Pitched into the 6th in each of those 3 starts, but has not completed the 6th in any start all year. Royals bats. Yaz from the top of the lineup at 36.29 looks pretty affordable. It's a quality hitter. It's a guy we've seen succeed via on base over the years, a little bit of power in the lineup. Oh, the Stros picked up Craig Kimbrell to fill in for Josh Hader. Is it his 10th team now? Damn. Ricky saying the Royals implied total looks too low. I think it's a little respect for Mize. It basically jibes exactly with his xFIP, right? 3.63, 3.98. They're not the highest scoring team in the world either. Not a lot of great run creators. It's really the top 4 and then a bunch of also rans. That's why the Royals fall down the stacks board a lot of the time, because that bottom end just drags things down, where they've got India underperforming. Adam Frazier's the same guy as India. John Raven, Kyle Isbell are kind of the same guys, but worse. So it's not a great lineup going up and down the list here. Even Sal, I mean, I didn't mean to throw Sal into that mix. He's obviously tremendous. 98 WRC plus is a little substandard for him, but still a major power bat. So it's the top 5 I meant to say. But that bottom 4 is a little bit painful. So they're low strikeout, heavy sequencing, solid hit team. They're getting a little power out of Vinny, certainly out of Sal, but they're lacking power from a lot of other spots. lacking a little run creation ability from the bottom of the lineup. So I can buy the sub 4 implied total here. But if it was 4-1-5 or something like that, I would not be arguing with that either. So Yaz at 36.29, basically just another outfielder, but a 330 on base hitting ahead of Witt, Pasquantino, Michael Garcia is a pretty good spot in the lineup for a fair price. 103 WRC plus for him on the year. Bobby Witt for 56 for 39, 18 homers, 34 steals, just under a 300 average. Rock solid. I think I've said rock solid like 4 times already. Excellent slash line, 206 ISO, a 129 WRC plus. As mentioned, Vinny is just way too stupid kind of cheap at 41. 32 is too cheap on FanDuel. That's a $3,500 player, $5,000 player. You're getting him very cheap here. Mikey Garcia at 46, 3,000. Another player having a really good year and not really priced up for it. DraftKings a little closer to the mark, maybe at 46, 3,000 on FanDuel across 3 positions. It's an asset. 12 homers, 22 steals, a 127 WRC plus. Sal's got his 22 home runs, his 202 ISO. We're looking at Sal basically as a power bat. 15.1% barrel, 47% hard hit. Still a highly capable hitter. Doesn't really strike out at 20% strikeouts from a power hitting catcher is perfectly fine. So not a bad option for only 3,900, 2,900 against Casey Mize with all the premium contact he allows. And then any one of Frazier, India, Rave, Isbell for those prices and positions, perfectly fine in any given lineup. You do want to have those mixers in there. They can get involved. They're infrequent contributors. Each guy's got low mid-grade type pop, low mid-grade stolen base ability for several of those guys. Jonathan India coming into this season, I would have said would have been the best option out of that group and the best stolen base option. He has yet to steal a base this season. Weird year for Jonathan India. But everybody down there, essentially the same. Playable, not appealing, not a priority. Colt Keith at the top of the Tigers lineup. If you're considering Detroit, that's a great option. 34-28. He's got 11 home runs, a 266, 348, 433 line. 119 WRC plus now on the season, drawing an 11.3% walk. And he's hitting the ball hard. Maybe we're not finding the peak results with 11 homers and just a 167 ISO, but 9.4% barrel, 44.5% hard hit. Colt Keith is good, and he's finally fulfilling his potential overall. 4,031 for Glaber. He's got 13 home runs. Tremendous strikeout to walk rate of 14.7 and 13.1. Just doing his thing out there regularly. A 115 WRC plus, a 381 xWOBA. Maybe not the biggest power bat at second base, but excellent as far as correlated scoring. Just the ability to get to first base. 359 on base. Wish he was still a New York Yankee. Gary Carpenter, 47-32. For some reason has been hovering at slightly diminished pricing all season long. 22 home runs and only 356 plate appearances. 264, 300, 535, 270 ISO. Riley Green, 29 homers in his 521 chances. Their best overall bat. 240 ISO, 125 WRC plus. 122 WRC plus for Spencer Torkelson. This team just is a machine for run creation. Wensil Perez hits the ball squarely, 8.9% barrel. Dylan Dingler has a 9.3 with 44.7% hard hits. Those players are 3,800 in the outfield and 3,200 at catcher where you need catcher. 11 home runs for Dingler, 274, 321, 432, a 108 WRC plus. Wensil over his 251 chances has 10 home runs, a 212 ISO, a 119 WRC plus, kind of coming into his own. A little bit more than just another outfielder this year. Zach McKinstry, a mix and match guy across multiple positions on both sides. He's come up with 10 home runs and 19 steals this season. Getting on base at a 337 clip, 115 WRC plus. He's been tremendous. And then Javi Baez, the all-star, 96 WRC plus down the bottom of the lineup. It's starting to slip for Javi, or it's been slipping. He's very playable still. He's got a 268 average if you care about batting average. And we're sub 300 on base, which is what I care about. Just a 152 ISO, 11 homers, 5 steals. It was a nice story for a minute. He's not been as bad as he's been in previous seasons, but he's only loosely playable at the bottom. But this top 8, that's a 119 average WRC plus. They are absolutely fantastic going up against a low-end righty. Major upside for the Tigers. Tigers bats. Casey Mize on DraftKings. Royals bats. Casey Mize on FanDuel. Ryan Burgert. Blue Jays and the Fish. Ryan Gusto, 7,000, 23.5% strikeouts on the season against the 7.4% walk isn't too bad. Most of that work came with Houston. He's made one start since coming to Miami. Faced the Braves. 6 innings, 3 earned runs, 8 strikeout game, 2 walks. It's an adequate start for the cheap pricing. Honestly, especially on FanDuel, the issue is you've just got this excellent Blue Jays lineup to deal with. 17.3% strikeout rate for this confirmed version of the lineup. Was that 6 of their 9 hitters at positive WRC plus marks? One of them that's under is Ty France, who's a capable enough bat. Another one is Ernie Clement, another guy who's capable enough, found a lot of success for them recently. Andres Jimenez can take or leave, but he's low strikeout if nothing else. The only guy in this lineup who strikes out, or 2 guys, Addison Barger and Dalton Varsho, the 2 lefty bats. 2 of the lefty bats. I'm tempted by those Gusto prices, though. He really has been effective enough, 11.2% swinging strikes. It's probably not a good spot. It's pretty high danger. I imagine he's not going to be at all popular, though, even at the cheap pricing. Let's see what ownership looks like real quick. Yeah, basically anybody not named Fried, Wu, or Evaldi is in single-digit FanDuel ownership today. And his nothing price, he's 6,800 here and at a sub-1 ownership projection. Again, this is a terrible spot. This is probably not the guy that you want to take. But there is ability here. And it's the kind of ability that creates fantasy points for nothing pricing and no popularity. Yeah, similar DraftKings ownership. As a wild card SP2 on DraftKings, I think he's in the mix. As a total dart throw, probably not going to work out, but capable of giving you 6 quality innings and maybe even finding some Ks against this Blue Jays team. Very, very cheap. Got to nail the bats. On the other side, Shane Bieber steps into the show again at 9,000 on both sites. Solid projection. I would say, you're probably dealing with like a 90 pitch count. So you got to consider that. Reconstructed elbow. First start since the beginning of 2024 in the show, but last time out in AAA, 7 innings of excellence. Faced 24 hitters, 6 hits allowed, 4 strikeouts, no walk, no runs. 5 2/3 in the outing before that, faced 22 hitters, so the pitch count is built up. Good enough to get through this Marlins team for sure. No numbers so far this year. Last year, just the 2 starts, but look how good those 2 starts were. 44.4% strikeouts, 2.2% walks. Tremendous. When we get back to a more realistic sample, though, when we had him for 21 starts back then, it was just a 20.1% strikeout pitcher, 3.80 ERA and a 3.96 xFIP. Was largely average that year. Was tremendous the year before that, though. 200 innings in 31 starts, a 25% strikeout against just 4.6% walks, 2.88 ERA with a 2.98 xFIP, 13.8% swinging strike. That was peak form Bieber. It's been a minute since that guy's been available to us. So we will see what this looks like. I'm not wild about paying 9,000 out of the gate against the Marlins team that's been frisky for runs all season long. That still does have some excellent options in it and is somewhat low strikeout themselves for some of these guys. You do have some meaty strikeout rates in small samples for some of those guys. Wouldn't shock me at all if Bieber went 6 and had a very good day. Wouldn't shock me at all if Bieber went 4 and change or 5 and had a shaky kind of a day for those prices. On the board, but not my favorite option. Projects out well, but not my favorite option. Blue Jays bats. George Springer at the top, 5,300, 21 homers, 13 stolen bases in just 430 plate appearances. A monster 4.02 xWOB under the surface. Doesn't strike out, draws plenty of walks, hits the ball exceedingly hard. Excellent option at price against this pitcher. Addison Barger is just 45-31. 18 home runs, 227 ISO. I feel like it's been a minute for him, though. What have you done lately? What have you done for me lately, Addison Barger? Month of August, 222, 254, 381, a 159 ISO, 72 WRC plus, has hit 3 home runs, but a little bit shakier for the month of August so far. We're not going to get too hung up on recent performance. It's an up and down kind of a player. He definitely caught a nice wave early in the season, but that talent is real. That ability to drive the ball is real. 12.8% barrel, 51.9% hard hit. Didn't just appear out of the clear blue sky. If people go away from him or go around him in their Blue Jay stacks, which they probably won't, but any kind of diminishment of recent performance for a player that we know is good and in a good spot, you hope that it cuts into the ownership publicly a little bit and you take a little bit more when you build with that team. Bo Bichette at 48 at 32, 16 home runs on the board, a 167 ISO, 123 WRC plus. Alejandro Kirk at 33 at 29, 10 homers on the board for him, 293, 352, 412, carrying a 360 xWOBA, just probably the best season of his life. Hitting the ball very hard, up to 10 homers, but just that 119 WRC plus is a little bit glaring. Not necessarily cashing in on all of the premium contact that he makes. By the way, Vladdy's out of the lineup if you hadn't noticed. Hamstring inflammation. That definitely helps Ryan Gusto. Got to throw that into the mix at least. Dalton Varsho at 47 at 35, 13 home runs in just 156 plate appearances this year, a 343 ISO, capitalizing on his power for sure, making better contact than he ever has in a small sample of batted ball events. Still striking out quite a bit. Strikeout rate's gone up. Walk rate's come down slightly year over year. A short of a 3 true outcomes kind of a guy, but definitely power from the left side for reasonable pricing. 10.77 leads the team in the home run model today. France at 31 at 25 is a mix and match quality player over 437 plate appearances. Is always playable, but low quality. Doesn't really strike out much. Doesn't really draw walks, so you get balls in play and they're medium grade contact. Nathan Lukes, Ernie Clement, Andres Jimenez. We round out with 3 basic, fairly light hitters, slap hitter types. Clement's gotten his way up to 9 home runs, Lukes has 10 in 329 plate appearances, just a 150, 125 ISO, but all 3 guys low strikeout. Lukes can draw walks. The other 2, a little bit less so. They're more reliant on BABIP putting the ball in play and getting to first base. Any one of those guys as an end piece to a mid lineup stack or as a wraparound play from down there back up to the top, definitely in play. What you probably don't want to do too much is pile up multiple options from those bottom 3. But each of those guys has shown a little bit of success. Jimenez is the lowest end option out of the 3. On the Marlins side, again, no Kyle Stowers. Definitely an impact to this team, taking that lefty power out of this lineup. He was a big part of the reason they were successful throughout a stretch of the season. Xavier Edwards at the top for 45, though, 2,900 on FanDuel, slashing 302, 360, 377, creating run 6% better than average, 23 stolen bases. A very solid player, not a hard hitter, but a low strikeout rate, medium-high walk rate, gets on base a lot and does his thing. Sets the table for guys like Jacob Marcy in the second spot, Agustin Ramirez in the 3-hole. Marcy been one of the better players since his debut, 75 plate appearances ago, 4 home runs, 7 stolen bases, a 359, 447, 34 slash line, a ridiculous 459 xWOBA. In 429 plate appearances in AAA this season as a 24-year-old, he had 14 home runs, had 47 stolen bases, a 191 ISO. I don't know how much of the power output that we saw in those first 75 plate appearances is actually real, but the stolen bases are very, very real. The speed, the ability to get on base is very real. And he has found that power stroke so far in the show. So a really appealing player at 32 on FanDuel, 45 on DraftKings. We're getting up there a little bit. They're giving him credit for the power for sure, but that premium contact is excellent. Agustin Ramirez has delivered a believable 441 plate appearances. We've slipped in the average, the on base, the overall quality down to a 98 WRC plus, but still 18 home runs, 9 stolen bases from a rookie. That's not a bad season from a kid with catcher eligibility. Otto Lopez, mix and match quality at 35-27, up to 11 home runs, 11 steals. Feel like he's had those for a minute now. 86 WRC plus shows the overall quality, but another low strikeout, medium walk guy. Liam Hicks at 3,000, 2,400, catcher and first base eligible on both sites. Mix and match quality guy from the middle, just 4 home runs, a 100 ISO, nothing special there. Heriberto Hernandez hits the ball hard, though. Slipped under a double-digit barrel rate, but 9.9%, not bad. 7 home runs and 175 chances, very solid slash line. 122 WRC plus. He's one of the more appealing bats here. Troy Johnston has yet to do much in the show. 37 plate appearances, 1 home run, pretty limited across the board, but did show a little bit of pop in the minors. Solid, cheap lefty bat for first base on both sides. Outfield eligibility as well. And then Derek Hill, Javier Sanoa down lineup. Pretty weak, 71, 77 WRC plus over mixed samples. Last season, we had 172 plate appearances to back up the fact that Derek Hill's not that good, and Sanoa just had 36, but did not perform really well. Mix and match at the absolute best at the bottom of the Marlins lineup. If you're playing Marlins, you're really looking like 1, 2, probably top 3, like 1, 2, 3 there, and then I would probably jump down to Heriberto and maybe grab a cheap Troy Johnston and round things out, and now I'm at just 3,800 apiece. It's not bad to attack the return of Shane Bieber here. Again, Bieber's a very talented guy, but it's been 3 years since we saw him at peak form, and he's making his first start of the season in the show today. Blue Jays bats. Cheap Ryan Gusto. Shane Bieber. Marlins bats. Yes, I know that Bieber outprojects Gusto, but per dollar, it's closer. I just don't love the idea of the reason I would rank it that way. One, the per dollar thing. I just think Gusto at no ownership and such cheap pricing is maybe worth a few darts. It's not a good play. I just don't love the idea that Bieber's coming in at 9. You know, if they get, there's a very good chance if they get just 5 good innings out of him, it's, hey, Shayna, welcome back. Great job, man. Hit the pine. We'll win this one for you. Wouldn't stun me at all. Come on. Mets Braves, both lineups in. Nolan McLean, 87, 88, priced up immediately for that great first outing. Again, it was one really good start. 5 1/3 against Seattle, one of the better offenses in the sport. Just 2 hits, 8 strikeouts, but walked 4. That's problematic. In his 18 starts in AAA this year, across 5 at AA, 13 at AAA, he had a 27.2% strikeout rate, but 10.7% walks. He pitched to a 2.45 ERA, but a 3.76 xFIP. I think we need to greatly temper expectations for what is a high-end young starter, making his second overall start against a team that still has Matt Olson and Ronald Acuna, let alone all these other fairly high-quality bats. So, yeah, it projects well. He's going up against a Braves team that's been scuffling throughout the season. They have a average strikeout rate, 21.1. They draw a lot of walks, 10.5%. Some of these guys down lineup, not so much. But Marcell Ozuna is a monster as far as drawing walks. Ronald Acuna is ridiculous at drawing walks. Olsen, even Jurickson Profar this year is drawing a lot of walks. So they're going to feed right into the issues that Nolan McLean has. And then if one of these guys comes through with power, that's going to bend the day very, very quickly at those prices. Wouldn't stun me if McLean came out, went 5 and change again, found a solid strikeout day with a few walks along the way. Rubber's going to meet the road on those walks and any kind of output with guys on base, because there will be some guys on base. Joey Wentz at 69, at 79, pitching to a sub 20% strikeout, at 10.8% walk, 4.72 ERA, 4.67 xFIP, and just looking like a target for some Mets bats. Feels like a low total for the Mets at just 4.22 implied. Having trouble actually explaining that. Like I said, they were, when I did the runs board earlier, they were showing on the model for sure better. This does have a lot of rain in the area, by the way. This game on Roth is yellow. A lot of storms in the area. It's just one of those, if the storm pops above the stadium, you got to worry about it. The wind is blowing in, but not like crazy. It's a really low overall total. 8.5 total. Both teams basically even up in Vegas. I'm struggling with why the Mets would be so low totaled against Joey Wentz. Doesn't really add up. A couple of good starts in a row, 6 innings, 1 earned run against Cleveland at Cleveland, 5 1/3, 1 earned run against Miami, but struck out 5, walked 2 against Cleveland, gave up a homer, struck out 2, walked 3 in the Miami game. 5 earned runs over 5 1/3 to Milwaukee. 6 2/3 was very good against KC. 1 hit, no run, 7 strikeouts, but walked 3. So, I mean, he's been effective. You got to give him credit for being effective since getting stretched back out as a starter, I guess. Oh. I went to pull up his Fangraphs page, and for some reason I typed in Bryce Elder because I was thinking about bad Braves pitchers. So since he's come back to starting, those 6 starts that he's made, he has pitched to a 2.84 ERA, but a 4.21 xFIP. He's got just a 20.3% strikeout against 8.9% walks over that stretch. He's held hitters to a 224 batting average on balls in play against. 188 overall actual average. He's getting lucky, guys. There's too much credit being given to Joey Wentz here. I mean, not that the numbers are all that good anyway, but I think he's getting too much credit for a couple good starts. Wasn't great in relief last year. 67 innings of relief was bad. 19 starts the year before. It's not like we've never seen him as a starter. He had a 6.90 ERA and a 5.13 xFIP, sub 20% strikeout. Year before that wasn't all that good. And 7 starts. That's intriguing. Are the Mets sneaky? They're not sneaky. All of the superstars on the team are sub 10% ownership projection for DraftKings per RG. Only 2 of the cheaper players are cracking 10%, and that's just by decimal points. That's kind of interesting. 3 of these Mets are above the magic number in the home run model. It's 3 you would expect. Starling Marte wedged in between the stars at 3,500, 2,600 is kind of interesting. Mark Vientos, Brett Beatty down lineup are super interesting because people overlook them. I like that spot. Lindor, 57-34, 25 home runs, 20 stolen bases. What struggles? 199 ISO, 122 WRC plus, a 337 xWOB under the surface. Juan Soto, 31 home runs, 20 stolen bases, a 244 ISO, a 144 WRC plus, a 440 xWOB under the surface. He's ridiculous. He's got kids at the Little League World Series calling him overrated. I want to strangle that little boy. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about. There's a clip going around where they were like, whose autograph do you want to get? And one kid said Juan Soto, and the other kid was like, dude's overrated. Why would I want his autograph? It's like literally the best hitter in baseball. Starling Marte is good. 281, 356, 433 over his 240 plate appearances. Hit 7 home runs, 5 stolen bases. Just a partial season for him, but it's been an effective partial season. Very low strikeout at 18.3% so far this year. It's typically more 20% strikeout, but he shaved a few points off of it. Hitting the ball pretty much like himself. 7.5% barrels, 40.6% hard hits. It's just a cheap way to average things down up toward the top of the lineup before you collide with the other very cheap pricing. Pete Alonso did not get our home run yesterday, but he's got 28 on the season, a 247 ISO, just an absolute beast at the plate. 19.2% barrels and 53.1% hard hits. Throw at this lefty. I love the upside for Pete. Kind of wish I had him as the home run pick today, but I don't. Mark Vientos at 9.2% barrel and 50% hard hits. He's only come away with 9 home runs, a 149 ISO, and 335 plate appearances this year. He is shockingly cheap for a guy who had 27 homers and had a 251 ISO last season. You take advantage, especially because he's hitting the ball maybe not quite the same as he did last year in terms of the barrels, but these are still aggressively good premium contact numbers. Brett Beatty's got even better premium contact from the left side, 38-28. Just lefty of it isn't probably ideal for Beatty. He's done lefty. Yeah, just 2 of his 15 home runs have come in same-handed situations. Just a 105 ISO versus a 215 ISO against righties. So bear that in mind. But if they chase Joey Wentz quickly here, you probably get a righty for a couple plate appearances at least. And then Brett Beatty's just cheap, 6.30 on the home run model. Tyrone Taylor, mix and match. We didn't get the sneaky good performances out of Tyrone Taylor that we wanted so far this year. 199, 256, 289, 2 home runs, 11 stolen bases. Pretty weak for DFS. Seth Mullins, on the other hand, 16 homers, 17 steals. A lot of that came with the Orioles. Good for counting stats, not good at all for consistency, but that's kind of what you want in a sneaky late lineup DFS option. That said, 4,000 is kind of a glaringly high price. 2,700 is a little bit more doable on FanDuel. Hayden Singer not showing as much at the plate, over 53 chances, not showing as much in the projections either. On the Braves side, I do think you could take some Braves bats. Going up against the rookie here, and again, you're just looking to exploit his actual negative attributes like the walks. Plenty of power available just in this Braves lineup, full stop. So get a couple guys on base and then fish for that long ball. Jerkson Profar has been getting on base like crazy. 353 on base. He's got 10 home runs and just 218 plate appearances at 218 ISO. He's turned it around. He's contributed a good 200 plus plate appearances to this team now after taking that PED pop. So good for him. 4,300, 3,600, differently priced across sites. DraftKings not fully caught up to the performance. Matty Olson, 48, 34, entirely reasonable. 19 home runs on the board. Still a monster for premium contact. He's dipped overall in quality undeniably, but he gets on base like crazy at a 367 clip. He draws a 13.2% walk, and he's got Ronnie Acuna back in the lineup protecting him now. So I still expect, we haven't gotten our second half surge out of him, but I still expect a good final 5-6 weeks of the season here, if nothing else, and always playable. Acuna is a superstar. You always include him. 14 home runs in just 265 chances, 169 WRC plus. Michael Harris has been absolutely on fire for the better part of a month and a half now. 3,500 DraftKings is yet to notice. 34 FanDuel has 16 home runs, 14 stolen bases. Still just a 90 WRC plus, but he's been fantastic. He's a man renewed. You definitely include him in your Brave stacks. Marcell Ozuna is just 4,000, 3,300 again. 16.8% walks to throw at a kid with a walk issue in the minors and presumably in the show as well. It's a great price. And Ozuna's back for power. 20 home runs, a 185 ISO overall. Struggled through part of the season with injuries, but looking much, much better of late. Drake Baldwin at 41 at 29, 13 home runs from the catcher spot. Love the power upside from the lefty there. Ozzy Albies has been bad for the better part of 2 years. 10 home runs, 12 stolen bases. Moderate contributor of counting stats in 539 plate appearances, but playable as a cheap second baseman now. Nacho, mix and match caliber at best. Been pretty bad in the show so far. Does have a little pedigree, and Nick Allen is here for defense. Mets bats. Braves bats. Nolan McLean, probably don't want to play Joey Wentz. At 69, and let me amend that. At 6,900 on DraftKings, given that low Vegas total, given the recent stretch, if you want to throw the dart, it's available to you. But I don't really see it. Let me put it like that. Just skip over the Cardinals game entirely. What do you say? Cards and the Rays. We can't skip that one. The Rays are actually looking pretty damn good today. No Rays lineup in yet. Apologies for kind of ignoring chat. John Hans is a believer. Yeah, Ricky, some of the guys down toward the bottom, your light hitters, get a little bit more impacted by the lack of plate appearance opportunity. Sanoa has hit 4 in his 260 chances, but look at the contact that he actually makes. 1.9% barrel, 34.4% hard hits. So he got 4 happenstance home runs out of him. Last season in 36 chances, he didn't hit any. Not that that's all that odd. And then in the minors, 2024, 553 plate appearances. He had 7 home runs, 576 plate appearances in 2023. As a 20-year-old, he had 4 home runs. Just not much of a power bat. He has, if you just like traditional scouting, 20 grade game power, 30 grade raw power. So he's a contact and speed type guy. So is it entirely real in the context of like, a 2 versus a 5 versus a 10? Maybe not. Maybe it should be 1+, just a product of the math. But just a light hitter, impacted multiple times by being at the bottom of the lineup, lack of plate appearance opportunities, et cetera, creates the low number. Good question, though. Always worth calling those things out. We've caught a couple along the way throughout the year. Yeah, Johnny, I'm with you. Look at all these cheap Tampa bats. Couple of high prices on DraftKings up at the top, but everybody gets super cheap down toward the bottom, and there are some interesting guys. FanDuel, you can do basically whatever you want around the heavy price for Junior Caminero. They're going up against Miles Michaelis, who's pitching to a 15.3% strikeout rate. He's allowing 11.9% barrels, 42.5% hard hits, 89.6 miles an hour of exit velo, 4+% home runs. Entirely believable from Michaelis this year. 4.99 ERA, 4.81 xFIP, raise it nearly a 5 implied total that lines up perfectly with those. The one thing Michaelis does is limit walks. He doesn't throw strikes. He doesn't induce swinging strikes. He just can every now and then find a path to 6-7 relatively clean innings. As a dart throw at 64 against a Rays lineup that can be very up and down, Michaelis could come out and give you the start that he had against Colorado in St. Louis 2 starts ago. 6 2/3, 2 earned runs on 4 hits, 3 strikeouts, 1 walk. That is exactly the type of start I'm talking about when I say Miles Michaelis maybe as a dart throw. But even with that, you're not getting much upside. And if it comes with a few extra hits from a much better Rays lineup, you're basically sunk. At 68 on FanDuel, I just don't think you'd do it. You'd just be trying to get to the quality start. And then it would be a quality start that got you to like 25 fantasy points and not enough quality for the cheap price. Adrian Hauser on the other side at 78 at 84. Checking the cards to a 4.21 implied total. Last time out, 5 innings. Last 2 starts for him were 5 exactly. 1 good, 1 bad. 4 hits, no runs to the Giants at San Francisco. 4 runs on 6 hits to the Mariners in Seattle. Struck out 6 in the San Francisco game. That was an upside day. He had a nice stretch for Chicago in like late June into July prior to the trade. Since landing in Tampa, 9 earned runs in 3 starts. Basically only that one against the Giants was good. 17.3% strikeouts. Does have that 2.67 ERA, but the 4.27 xFIP is the real number. Decent at limiting launch, keeping barrels out of the equation, but a lot of hard hits, a lot of exit velo. The 1.44 home run is believable, but not necessarily real. Last year, 2.59 in a 69 inning sample, 2.70 the year before that, and 100 and change innings. A capable enough guy. Wouldn't stun me. He's limiting their home run upside. They don't hit a ton of home runs anyway. So wouldn't stun me if he had an all right day. 7,800, 8,400. I think you're at the upper limits of what I would pay for Adrian Hauser as an SP2 on DraftKings. 84 on FanDuel. I have a hard time getting to that price. Cards bats are in play against, though. He's gettable enough. That's a low strikeout, high contact pitcher, so you can get away with a team like the Cards from the middle of the board. 13 home runs on deck for Lars Nootbaar. Still one of their better bats overall. A 51.2% hard hit, 9.8% barrel rate. Just a lack of overall output this year. 151 ISO is concerning. A 107 WRC plus is still good. Just has been more in the yard this year. Fewer extra base hits, but still a very high quality player. Ivan Herrera, back catcher, 4,700 on DraftKings, 31 on the FanDuel slate, 10 home runs, slashing 285, 362, 431. Was a full-time outfielder there for a minute, but back at the catcher spot where we want him, that's much higher quality at that position. Alec Burleson, 44-31, one of their better bats on the season, 15 homers, a 120 WRC plus. Wilson Contreras at 45, 3,000 has 18 home runs. Still squares the ball up very effectively, 14.8% barrel, 49.5% hard hits against a guy who allows you to do that, has a lot of appeal. It's a mid-board type first baseman. Nolan Gorman at 4,000 at 3,000 has a dozen home runs in 291 plate appearances, a 191 ISO, 10.2% barrel, but that's down barrel rate wise over the last couple seasons for him. Typically 15, 16% barrel is what we're hunting for because he's a super high strikeout hitter. That said, he has cut strikeout from 37% last year down to just 30 this year. Looks a little bit more like 2 years ago with some increased walk. Needs that walk, needs to come through with batted ball events. When he does, monster power hitter, but very inconsistent. Mason Wynn, just another shortstop, 39-29, 9 home runs, 9 steals, and 97 WRC+. Sagisi at 24-23. An okay slash line on the front end with the 255 average, with just a 293 on base, a 333 slug is pretty anemic, 76 WRC plus. Not much of a bat despite that 46.8% hard hit rate. Joao Pozo, another catcher in this lineup, mix and match quality. 5 home runs and 149 plate appearances. A little bit of happenstance there given the 2.4% barrel, the 37% hard hit. And then Jordan Walker, whose praises I have sung many, many times, stuck in the 9 spot. Bad season, over 294 plate appearances, undeniably, even for us supporters, but still has a 9.5% barrel and a 49.2% hard hit, even with this total and complete lack of output. Nothing about a .092 ISO aligns at all with those batted ball events. He's gotten incredibly unlucky, ripping balls at players, so on and so forth. There's a lot of downside in his game. Was terrific as a rookie in 465 plate appearances 2 years ago. And reminder, kid's still only like 22, right? 22? 23. 23 and 3 months. He's still ahead of schedule. So, yeah, there have been flaws, but they called him up as a 20-year-old, and then they've been jerking him around a little bit since. Might need a change of scenery. Chandler Simpson up toward the top of the Rays projected. Scored 3 runs and a loss yesterday. Still no confirmed Rays. Kid's excellent. 302, 339, 354 slash line. Just don't expect him to hit for power. But on base, correlated scoring, no strikeout, no walk. So just a lot of contact. Put the ball in play, beat it to first base, steal a base or two, and then score a run. That is ideally what Chandler Simpson does. $5,000 is still crazy expensive on DraftKings for that, though. $2,900 on FanDuel is a much more correct price. I imagine that price will keep the ownership down, if nothing else, on the DraftKings slate. 53 and 55 for Brendan Lau and Junior Caminero. Very expensive prices, but well worth it. 13.88 and 14.25 in the home run model today. Both those guys are mashers. 24 home runs for Lau, 35 for Junior Caminero. And remember how young he still is, too. He's what, 20? 22, just turned 22 a month ago. As I've said before, Wander Franco hadn't gotten to the minors, this team would be something else. Josh Lowe at 7 home runs, 13 stolen bases, and 81 WRC plus. Problematic season for a good player. 5.6% barrel is cut in half from the last 2 seasons. There's your problem. He's limited strikeout a little bit more this season, drawing basically the same walk rate. Still a little priced up at 4,300, just about the same, 43.29 across sites. Super usable in the outfield, but also a little bit more skippable than he's been in years past if you want to get 2 different players in this lineup. Hunter Fiducia, if he's in the heart of the lineup at 2,200, 2,100 on FanDuel, hasn't done much with his 37 plate appearances, but a little bit of pop on evidence, 14.3% barrel so far. For Fiducia, 9 home runs and 333 plate appearances in AAA this season over 79 games while with the Dodgers organization. Last year in AAA, 350 plate appearances, just 6 home runs, 284, 409, 428 slash line, though. Created runs 22% better than average by WRC+. Had a 11 home run season the season before that, and a 15 home run season the season before that one in the minors. Was just blocked with the Dodgers organization because, you know, Will Smith, Dalton Rushing, and then him. So getting a little bit more of a shot here with the Rays. Seemingly their go-to catcher option now. At worst, he's very cheap for a kid who did hit a little bit in the minors on the way up and was a decently regarded player. Jake Mangum at 35, at 27 is down to 275, 311, 340, 82 WRC plus. It's getting ugly for Mr. Mangum. Every now and then can contribute, still hits for average, puts the ball in play with his 15.5% strikeout, 4.6% walk. Just a light overall hitter and a quad A player. Bob Seymour might also be a quad A player, but dude can mash. 30 home runs in the minors this year, comes with a lot of strikeout, not that much walk. Has yet to barrel a ball, but found his first home run the other day. 21 plate appearances, 1 home run on the board. We'll see where it goes, but that is a very appealing $2,500 mixer, $2,200 mixer on FanDuel, and would definitely be, if I was building one stack of Rays, Bob Seymour would absolutely be in it. You want to take that big power bat against a pitcher that does not have strikeout stuff to sit him down with. Just look for the batted ball event. Tristan Gray, over 25 plate appearances, has made solid contact as well. They put Ha-Seong Kim on the IL, so presumably we'll have Gray again. He's another aged up player. He's 29, so there's nothing special necessarily about what's going on. But he had 9 home runs in 282 plate appearances as a 29-year-old AAA player this year. Last year as a 28-year-old across 2 levels of the minors, but mostly AAA, he had 19 home runs, 215 ISO, a 103 WRC plus. Another probable quad A guy, but those guys can contribute, and when they're this cheap, definitely helps. Nick Fortes also in the projected version of the lineup. We'll see if we get both of those guys. It's probably going to be either or with him and Fiducia, but if he's in the lineup, he's a mix and match quality catcher. I'd probably rather have Fiducia. See what we can do with all 3 of those guys. We're probably skipping Josh Lau in that equation and probably go like that. So it's 7, 8, 1, 2, 3. Not necessarily the most ideal stack construction, but doable. 4,080 total, and that puts all 3 of those guys in. If we just did the simple thing and took Simpson out, put Josh Lowe in for a cheaper price, it doesn't bring the average down crazy, but it does knock it down to 4,039.40 a piece, and it gives us a little bit more connectivity between that part of the lineup. So I think that might be worth doing if you're just building one Ray stack. Again, though, Bob Seymour, absolute priority in Ray stacks. Rays bats, Cards bats, Adrian Hauser, Miles Michaelis way down there. Damn, we got a lot of games to go. Twins lineup is in. Our home run pick of the day is in it, which is good. They're going up against Aaron Savali, who's got a 4.88 ERA, a pretty close to matching xFIP. Not much of a year for Aaron Savali, over 16 starts, sub 20% strikeout, too many walks, 4.85 xFIP. Giving up a little bit of premium contact and power. It's not egregiously bad, but it's also gettable. Believable power upside showing on the other side for the Twins. There are bats to like in this Twins lineup, too. We talked about James Outman being very cheap down lineup the other day. Very interesting lefty, 9.21 in the home run model for just 2,300 across sites in the outfield. He's got a 13.3% barrel rate this season. It's just resulted in 60 pretty bad plate appearances, but he does have a pair of home runs and a 200 ISO in the teeny sample. Last year, he was basically lost. Year before that, though, 23 home runs, 16 stolen bases in 567 plate appearances with the Dodgers, had a 188 ISO, 118 WRC plus. The kid has ability, and he's got multi-category ability. So that's a really interesting bat down lineup in the way that Bob Seymour was interesting, but we've got a little bit more proof that James Outman's actually interesting. Going up the lineup, though, Byron Buxton, superstar in the top spot at 57.38. He's at 25 home runs, and we like him a lot today to get his 26 because he's the home run pick of the day. 17.6% barrel, 54.6% hard hit, 135 WRC plus. That 15.05 was one of the top overall numbers in the entire model. I wanted to go a little bit maybe different. See what his ownership looks like. I'm sure he's popular. Why does this every time I pull it up, it's not there when I need it? Just barely into double digits. Perfectly acceptable for a player of Byron Buxton's caliber. Cheap Trevor Larnach, 36-28, 16 home runs on the board for him. A lefty power bat for sure, going up against a light pitcher like Aaron Savali. 8% barrel, 45.8% hard hit on the season. Hasn't totally cashed that in, but 16 home runs is decent. 168 ISO is where it's lacking a little bit. Luke Keeschel, 6.24 in the home run model after the back-end correction the other day. 333, 422, 500 start to his season. 90 plate appearances of quality. 161 WRC plus. Probably not going to be quite that good all along, but a 12.2% strikeout, 11.1% walk. Ideal at second base. The price has gotten way up there at 48. 31 on FanDuel is a little bit more manageable, but a very usable piece, and everybody around him in the lineup is affordable at worst. Matty Wallner at 38. monster premium contact, 16 home runs from the left side for him and just under 300 plate appearances, a 264 ISO, 118 WRC plus. Don't worry about the weak slash line. He's got 344 xWOB under the surface. He's a 3 true outcomes kind of a guy with major power potential against a pitcher who's not the best for strikeout. Ryan Jeffers, mix and match quality catcher with a little bit more to give than that on the right night. 42.7% hard hit rate, 9 home runs on the season. Not a major contributor, but a good run creator. 114 WRC plus, draws a double-digit walk rate against a low strikeout rate. Quality catcher bat from the heart of the lineup rather than taking a low-end catcher from the bottom of some other lineup. Brooks Lee, decent shortstop, 13 home runs and 401 chances. Just a 90 WRC plus, though, just a 305 xWOBA. There are things to not necessarily like, but he's low strikeout, low walk, so we're getting a lot of decently struck balls in play at a very cheap price. If we're building twin stacks, then Brooks Lee lands in them. If we're just one-offing a shortstop spot on DraftKings, not so much. Second base, maybe here and there for 2,700 as a one-off on FanDuel. I'd rather one-off the second base spot than the shortstop spot in the overall. Royce Lewis hiding down lineup at 32-27, not having a good year. Maybe he's not hiding. Maybe he's out in plain sight. He's just not good. But 16 home runs and only 325 chances last year, had a 219 ISO, a 108 WRC plus, 15 home runs and 239 plate appearances that were also excellent across the board. The year before that, 155 WRC plus. I refuse to believe that that guy's just gone. He's just lacked consistency. He's lacked consistent plate appearances. Only 268 chances this year. Edward Julian at the bottom of the lineup still hits the ball very hard, 12% barrel rate. He slipped a little bit in the hard hit department, but it's always been more about the barrels anyway. A lot of strikeout, upper medium type walk rate, 3 home runs and 136 plate appearances. It's difficult to sell him, but he does have a 336 xWOB under the surface. Last year hit 8 home runs while being sub Mendoza, sub 300 on base. Year before that, 16 homers, 263, 381, 459 slash line, and 195 ISO. Where's that guy gone? A lot of these twins were relying on who they were 2 years ago, so bear that in mind. But there's a lot of quality up and down this lineup. That is a 9-man playable lineup, 4.53 implied total against a gettable Aaron Savali. And then Zebby, 77-83. Solid projection, striking out 29.9, 13.3% swinging strike rate. A spectacular 3.17 xFIP over his 10 starts, especially when compared to a 5.06 ERA. Zebby's better than his back of the baseball card numbers look like. He has given up some premium contact. It's burnt him a little bit for the actual earned runs. 107 rating by Stuff Plus, though, going up against the gettable White Sox team. You know I like it, which means cue the 10-run day for the White Sox, as we've seen quite a bit lately. 4.07 implied total for them against the righty, though. They're typically better against lefties. We do have their confirmed lineup. Lou Bob is in it. Little bump to them. There we go. So Zebby is very, very playable at 77 at 83 on the FanDuel slate. I like that upside. But I think you could mix in some White Sox stacks across 150, of course. I think you can get there. When they've been popping above 4 runs, they've been interesting because they're still very, very cheap. There is some quality in this lineup now. Undeniably, Colson Montgomery's come away with a decent amount of power, 267 ISO. His career runs 5% better than average across his 148 plate appearances, but has really been about the home run power. 215, 279, 481 leaves a lot to be desired, but barrels, hard hits, everything over there is intact. Same with Lou Bob, solid for premium contact, 13 homers, 31 steals. Just don't look at the slash line. xWOBA's right where it needs to be. That is a very solid stretch right there. Honestly, if you start at the top, I'll throw the 319 into that mix. 1 through 7, that is a 337 xWOBA. It's not bad. They're better than maybe they get credit for, especially from me. Mike Tauchman at 33-29 is an on-base machine, 363 on base. Good run creator up at the top of the lineup. Capable of hitting the ball hard against a middle-of-the-board righty who's given up a lot of premium contact. So it wouldn't stun me if Tauchman doubled in addition to drawing his walks and getting on base. Maybe there's a home run lurking in there. He's hit 8 of them this season. Miguel Vargas at 31-29, mix and match quality guy, 13 home runs, has cut his strikeout rate pretty significantly this year, keeping walks up a decent amount. Middle of the board type hitter as far as premium contact. Kyle Teal, solid barrels, but sub 40% hard hits. Decent slash line. Medium power, 4 home runs, 135 ISO, but a good run creator at 118 WRC plus. Lennon Sosa's made up some of the power this year for this team. 17 homers, a 173 ISO. It's more come in the form of home runs than just general consistency for extra base hits and homers, but we'll take the cheap home runs out of Landon Sosa at 38.29. And with Zebby on the mound, people aren't going to go to the White Sox as much as maybe they have been in some spots lately, so he'll be low owned. Colson Montgomery I talked about, Lou Bob I talked about, Andrew Benintendi, not a believer, sliding back down the lineup. He does have 14 home runs, a 174 ISO on the year, but you can see 89 WRC plus, 227, 292, 401 slash line. Not much of a bet. 10.5% barrel that's come mostly through happenstance, just 36.5% hard hit. He's never been as good as he looked for a brief minute this season. Chase Meadroth, solid hit tool, 255, 335, 322, just an 89 WRC plus though. Needs to find more ways to contribute, just not getting it done. Playable, but not a high-end option. Low strikeout, high walk, but not cashing those tickets a lot. And then Edgar Quero at the bottom of the lineup for only 28 where you need catchers. Solid slash line over 289 chances, a 105 WRC plus. Not much of a power bat, despite 49.3% hard hits, but solid. Twins bats, followed immediately by Zebby. Then White Sox bats, and then Aaron Savali. Home run pick of the day by Aaron Buxton from the top of the Twins. Guards and the Rangers. Both these lineups are in. Nathan Eovaldi on the bump for the Rangers. Just largely tremendous through this season. Last time out, 7 innings, 2-run ball, 5 hits against the Blue Jays, 6 strikeouts. The 2 runs came in the form of 2 solo home runs. He's had a little bit of a bump in recent starts for power. He gave up those 2 homers, and then the game against the Diamondbacks, his worst game of the season, he gave up 3 home runs in that game. Home runs are weird. It can happen to anybody. Only struck out 3 in that one, walked 1, 5 earned runs on 8 hits over 5 innings. That was his highest earned run total of the entire year. He's thrown 123 innings in 21 starts. Multiple games. He had a complete game shutout all the way back on April 1st against the Reds. Multiple games of 7 innings, though, pitching into the 8th multiple times. 8 innings, just 3 starts back against the Yankees. 8 innings of 1 hit ball. 6 strikeouts. Excellent option up toward the top of the pitching board. Going up against a Guardians team that has a 3.43 implied total. They come in with a 21.8% strikeout and a lot of strikeout targets down lineup and through the heart of the lineup. It's really about those 2 guys limiting strikeouts. If you take that out of the equation, it's a 25.3% 7-man strikeout average. So greatly bolstered by the presence of Jose Ramirez and Steven Kwan. Not that they're not going to be in the lineup, but when we're just talking about pure ability to rack up strikeouts against this team, they are there. So Eovaldi, peak option today. Slate Ciccone on the other side at 67. At 78, it would just be a price dart on DraftKings. I don't think we're going there at 78 on FanDuel. 4.50 ERA, but a slightly better 4.22 xFIP. Not a terrible pitcher, but giving up way too many barrels, way too many hard hits, and too much exit velo. The 4.42% home runs is entirely believable on that contact. We're over the threshold in all 3 categories. So, yeah, a lot of home run power. Not terrible as far as strikeout and walk, though. It's an average-ish, slightly below average strikeout rate. Decent enough walk rate as a ratio. That's not bad, but it doesn't give you a ton of DFS upside. So targetable pitcher with Rangers bats. And as I mentioned, they're popping a little bit for power in the home run model right there. A couple other guys through the lineup. And Ciccone's giving it up. My hope would be that we get the Rangers a little bit lower owned because I think they look pretty decent here. Again, I just reloaded this. Why is it gone again? I know they're not updating it that frequently. Drives me nuts. Only Eovaldi. Eovaldi's popular and manageable popular on DraftKings. Every single hitter except the shortstop for the Rangers is owned under 10%. And really only one of the other lefties is at all popular. This is an interesting little sneaky spot tonight, I think. Josh Smith for 38.27 from the top of the Rangers lineup. In play across sites, multi-position eligible on DraftKings, every position on FanDuel. 104 WRC plus, just having a Josh Smith kind of a season, put the ball in play, a little bit of correlated scoring, the infrequent home run, but he's low strikeout, high walk. He gets very involved. Wyatt Langford, solid premium contact numbers, multi-category contributor with 18 homers, 16 stolen bases, a 333 on base, creating runs 11% better than average by WRC plus. Needs to push the ISO. 180 ISO is not exactly capitalizing on that contact fully, but very, very good. Corey Seager right there. Somebody asked about him early in the show in the shortstop conversation. Overall, excellent contact, underperforming in terms of his results. 19 home runs at 211 ISO, though, in a vacuum, still very, very good. It's just probably a little underwhelming for that kind of contact, just this versus that. And then definitely a little bit below expectations just for the name that's on that jersey. But an excellent way to fill shortstop on this slate, 12.06 in the home run model. I kind of regret not making one of these Rangers the home run pick of the day now that I'm seeing it against ownership. Jock is still 2,200, 2,600. It's going to be a little bit more popular than some of his friends, but justifiably so. 11.12 in the home run model, has made a career out of getting to bad right-handed pitching that gives up power. He's up to 5 home runs in 207 plate appearances. I know it's been an ugly ride with Jock, but 9% barrel, 46.3% hard hit, even in the bad season. Comes with tons and tons of lefty thunder. You do not skip Jock Peterson if you're playing this lineup on DraftKings. On FanDuel at 26, there's a little bit more back and forth, but I still absolutely want Jock, and he's outfield and first base eligible over there, so it's dynamite as far as the positioning goes. Higgy at 31 at 27, up to 8 home runs, barreling the ball more consistently, finding the hard hit again. Just a interesting price-based play at the position that you're required to play on DraftKings. FanDuel, 2,700, he's only a mixer over there. He's an infrequent contributor. 17 home runs last year was a career high. The 2 seasons prior to that, 10 home runs apiece, while always barreling the ball consistently. So started out this season poorly, has kind of come on lately, but not a go-to bat. Rowdy Tellez is a kind of a go-to bat. 29-25. He's still very, very cheap. 13 home runs and 246 plate appearances is right on pace. 211 ISO, a 342 xWOBA, 15% barrels and 47.3% hard hits. He's just one of the better lefty power bats available on this slate at a very, very cheap price. The output comes and goes. He's nowhere near a consistent player, but it's a quarter of a season, and he's got 13 home runs. That's a comparable home run rate to many of the best power hitters on this slate. Josh Young at 32-26, 11 homers in 377 chances. We got to go back another player 2 years ago, 266, 315, 467, a 110 WRC plus, 23 homers and 515 chances. Josh Young is good, just hasn't really put this season together. 238, 286, 371. Ouch. Ezequiel Duran and Alejandro Osuna. Playability on Osuna based on some minor league numbers. 95 pretty weak plate appearances so far in the show. Ezequiel Duran having a bad 133 plate appearances this year, but was a good utility guy, moving around the board type in seasons past. 2,200 on FanDuel. He's still that. 2,200 at first base on DraftKings. When I already want to get to Rowdy, I would probably skip Ezequiel Duran more often than not on DraftKings. This team does come with some strikeout. Slate Ciccone, maybe finds a couple of those along the way. If he manages to avoid the home run ball, maybe he gets through. But I'm really seeing this as an interesting spot for Rangers. And then we didn't do the Guardians lineup against the Valdi. Most likely you're not looking Guardians. They will be very low owned, but it's a lower end team overall. You've got a couple interesting bats right there. Interesting rookie. This guy hits the ball hard but inconsistent. And then Stephen Kwan. Maybe Schneemann actually belongs in that conversation too. But it's a lower end lineup overall. There's good reason to stay light on Guardians today. Kwan, super low strikeout, medium walk, puts everything in play. 10 home runs, 14 steals, a 336 on base, 104 WRC plus. Always playable, rarely a priority. Schneemann does hit the ball hard, 11.2% barrel, 40.9% hard hit, 10 home runs and 335 chances, but everything else is kind of meh. 330 xWOBA under the surface says that he should get better as time goes on, but not a go-to player. Jose Ramirez is a go-to player in any lineup against any pitcher. He is just absolutely outstanding. 26 homers, 36 stolen bases. Kyle Manzardo's been hitting for power, 21 home runs. Everything else, a little light around the edges. 233 ISO is very good, but a 25.6% strikeout. As long as he can draw double-digit walks is okay, but should really try and push that walk rate up a little bit. I'm sure he's trying. 116 WRC plus. He has been good. Carlos Santana, I would rather have Kyle Manzardo at the first base spot in most of the lineups. 3,200, 2,800. He's loosely playable if you're building a bunch of Guardian stacks. Low strikeout, high walk is really what you're focused on there. CJ Kayfus and Gabriel Arias and Bo Naylor are all fairly high strikeouts so far. Bo Naylor does draw a lot of walks, hits for infrequent power, 11 home runs in 323 plate appearances, just a 179 ISO on his 10.2% barrel. Arias finds premium contact all the time, strikes out way too much, doesn't really draw walks, 9 home runs in 365 chances. A really inconsistent player, but a cheap way to fill middle infield if you're stacking the Guardians already. Not a reason to go to the Guardians. And then Brian Rocchio, mostly here for defense. Nathan Eovaldi, followed immediately by Rangers bats. Then Guardians bats, Slate Ciccone, but neither one of those things is all that appealing. It's actually probably Ciccone and then the Guardians bats. Okay, Carson Whisenhunt. Jose Quintana. We talked about Quintana a little bit back at the beginning of the show. No reason to believe that he couldn't keep this Giants team down. They've been scuffling. They're not great against lefties. He's just good enough to get through. Not super appealing just, on his own via the numbers. Not a monster strikeout pitcher. Not really an option on the FanDuel slate at this $8,700 price. I have a lot of issues with that. It's a 16.4% strikeout pitcher who puts guys on base, pitching to a 1.28 whip. He's got a 3.32 ERA, sure, but a 4.68 xFIP under the surface. Doesn't induce swinging strike, doesn't throw enough strikes, allows some premium contact in here. 3.15% home runs is very Jose Quintana. So I don't need it on FanDuel. 73 on DraftKings, easily in the mix for SP2. Carson Whisenhunt, 8,700 across sites, 5.02 ERA, 5.24 xFIP. Sub 20% strikeout with a double-digit walk rate over 3 starts, 14 and a third. Doesn't really work for me. Oh, come on. Not the time for labs to not cooperate. Or grass, rather. 103 AAA starts this season. Pitched to a 4.37 ERA, but a 4.92 xFIP. Had a 21.3% strikeout against 7.4% walks. Was effective at limiting power in the lower levels of the minor leagues over the last couple of seasons. Crept up over a home run per 9 in each of his last 2 stints in AAA. Still youngish, 23, 24. So a little bit early of a debut. Probably needed a little bit more seasoning in AAA. I don't think we need to go there against the Brewers team that's just been rolling better pitching than this all season long. Excellent run-creating team, if nothing else. 4.81 implied total speaks to that. Giants bats, if you're considering them against Jose Quintana, you're focused on some of the righties. Unfortunately, Matt Chapman is on the IL, so one of their better right-handed power bats is out of the lineup, but they do still have Willy Adames. They've got Elliot Ramos up at the top. Those guys do hit home runs. Ramos has 15. Adames is up to 20. He's corrected his season overall. He's up to 100 WRC+. Go, Willie. Way to go, buddy. 4,600, 3,600 for Rafi Devers in the heart of those guys. 15.5% barrel, 57.1% hard hit. 25 home runs. He's found the power stroke again a little bit. 214 ISO overall. Still lower end numbers with the Giants than what we're used to from Rafi Devers, but still an excellent, very threatening hitter to throw at Jose Quintana, and I'm not worried about lefty-lefty in that situation. Wilmer Flores has made a lifetime of hitting lefties pretty well. 34-27, inoffensively priced. He's got 13 home runs on the board and 401 chances this year. At worst, he's a mix and match player. Or actually, at best, he's a mix and match player. But great lineup spot, a nothing price, low strikeout, medium walk, a guy who can definitely drive the ball against his pitcher. Casey Schmidt, mix and match player at 33-26 across multiple positions. Really nothing to speak of except for the 109 WRC+. Young-Hoo Lee has a 109 WRC+ as well. Solid line drive hitter, but not a lot of individual output beyond that. Luis Matos is the dead min price. That's interesting. Matos, last season in AAA as a 22-year-old, 375 plate appearances, 14 home runs, 256, 328, 451, 195 ISO, 102 WRC+. Kid's got talent. Dead min price. If you're going to Giants against this lefty, I would probably jump from like 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I would probably just work Wilmer in around the edges. Although I don't love him at third base. You got to make an argument for Christian Koss at a slightly cheaper price. and do the 1, 2, 3, 7, 8 thing again. That's a 3,520 price. If you go that route, it's probably better off using the connectivity of Wilmer there, and you're at 3,600 a piece. There's some quality for 3,600 for a 5-man on DraftKings going up against those Quintana. So not off the board at all. Koss, Patty Bailey down lineup. Koss has been pretty playable, over 151 plate appearances, but just an 87 WRC plus. Some counting stats in play though. And then Patty Bailey is a sub replacement level catcher. Bryce Turang from the top of the Brewers going up against a lefty, but a lower end rookie lefty. Not really concerned there. 286, 354, 29, 21 stolen bases, a 119 WRC plus. Been hitting the ball harder. He's tripled that barrel rate and counting. Excellent option from the top of the Brewers. William Contreras at 5,000 at 3,200, 13 home runs. A good season, 256, 355, 388 with a 111 WRC plus. Solid catcher bat, but you are paying up quite a bit for Contreras there, where he's not really hitting for as much power as he used to. He's been a productive player, but a less than spectacular one, if that makes sense. So that is a high price for him, but he's very high quality in a good lineup today, in a good spot in that lineup. Christian Yelich is a superstar, 11.32 in the home run model today. He's got 26 on the board, 15 stolen bases, 344 on base, a 125 WRC plus. Been excellent. Andrew Vaughn's been murdering the league since joining the Brewers, 14 home runs, 177 ISO, 95 WRC plus, counting his time with the White Sox. Numbers are way better than that in Milwaukee. Solid barrels and hard hits all along. Still just 37 on DraftKings, 29 on FanDuel. He is cheap. He hasn't been quite as on fire over the last week or so, I don't think. Just memory serves. But we don't really worry about any given week. Last 30 plate appearances, no home runs, 192, 300, 231. If you want to get overexcited about 30 plate appearances, you need to reorient your priorities. Kid is really, really good. So be a believer at these prices in that spot in this lineup going up against this pitcher. Andrew Vaughn is an excellent option in those through that lens. Sal Frelick at 41, 3,000. Solid season out of Sal. 122 WRC plus. Excellent for setting the table. 364 on base. Suffers a little bit lineup position wise just because his positive attributes work better ahead of the high quality bats. But getting him ahead of Caleb Durbin, Isaac Collins, guys who can put the ball in play and find success, drive him in anyway. It's still a great little trio there, and nobody's expensive. Durbin, a 97 WRC plus. I'd rather have Collins than his 130 WRC plus. 277, 376, 429. He's been excellent this season. You get speed bonuses from almost everybody in this Brewers lineup. A lot of on base, a lot of run creation. Brendan Lockridge, Andrew Monasterio for very cheap prices. Down lineup if you need them. Monasterio's been okay over 72 plate appearances. Lockridge a little bit less, but there's ability in both those players. Mix and match guys down the bottom of the lineup. Brewers bats. Jose Quintana on DraftKings. Giants bats. Jose Quintana on FanDuel. Carson Wisdom. Cubbies, one of the big spots of the day as far as bats go. It doesn't look like we have their lineup in yet. We do have the Angels. Angels going up against Ben Brown, who our real concern with Brown there is primarily around the depth of start. Given up a few runs along the way in most of his starts, but he also just gets so short started that doesn't really have time to make it up, and the numbers get a little skewed by lack of innings. Overall, he's come away with a 24.5% strikeout against just 6.8% walks over 99 innings in 15 starts. But again, some short outings, some hybrid work in there. A 5.91 ERA shows the downside. The 3.65 xFIP shows the reality. 12.3% swinging, 30.2% CSW, but way too many barrels, way too many hard hits, way too much exit velo. We're dramatically over the threshold in each of those categories. Probably lucky to be sub 4%, even though he's closing in on 4% home runs allowed. Kid's got a bright future. I've been trying to sell him, or I was trying to sell him as a one-year keeper in the Dynasty League to upgrade a spot because I think he's going to be really good next year. Right now, 66, 72, you need to really hit the day pretty hard. He is facing a lineup that has a 27.3% strikeout rate in opposition. They hit the ball extremely hard. I lean toward some of the power, some of these barrels, these hard hit rates that are pretty extreme up and down this Angels lineup, kind of working against this part of Ben Brown a little bit more than I lean into those working against that and this. Last time out, Benji just went 2 2/3. That was in bulk relief. 4 innings in 2 bulk relief appearances prior to that one. A 5-inning full start against the White Sox. I think that's what we've got in the cards today is 5 innings, and then thank you very much. Those go up and down. The game against the White Sox, 5 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 4 strikeouts, no walk. Pretty solid. A 5-inning start, 2 starts prior to that against St. Louis at St. Louis. 9 hits, 8 earned runs, 4 home runs, 3 strikeouts, 2 walks. That was part of a stretch of 4 straight actual starts. Gave up at least 1 home run in each, and then the 4 home run game. But came away with 7 strikeouts over 7 innings against Detroit at Detroit. That was his deepest start of the year. That's going all the way back to June, by the way. 5 strikeouts in each of the following 2 ones, 5 2/3, 5 innings. So I question whether we're getting anything beyond 5, and I sincerely doubt it. That's not a bad price for that with the strikeout upside it comes with. If he gets 5 innings, reasonably, 6 strikeouts is in play. I don't know what the line is. There's a reasonable expectation for a decent 5 innings there for that price. 72 on FanDuel with a lack of a quality start on a pitching slate that has a big, broad midsection and a pretty high peak. I don't think you go there just because other guys are going to be able to outperform it. Tyler Anderson, just a target for Cubs bats here. 61, 7,000, 4.77 ERA, 5.31 xFIP, a 4.85% home run rate, 21-degree average launch, just easy to hit home runs against. Cubby showing some power, 11.69 in the home run model for Seiya Suzuki. Ian Happ pulling a respectable number. PCA in the heart of the lineup at 9.41. We talked about Dansby with his power upside at 6.64. Solid barrel rates, solid hard hit rates up and down. No Kyle Tucker for the Cubbies, but still tons of thunder in this lineup. Nico in the top spot, a on-base and correlated scoring option. Solid BABIP, solid slap hitter. Gets on base, 23 stolen bases, a 102 WRC plus. Plunk him ahead of Ian Happ, or if Happ is leading off for this team today, 329 on base. He's suffered a little bit through the course of the season, but still putting up good contact numbers, high walk rate, 16 home runs, a 104 WRC plus, and an underlying 353 xWOBA that speaks to the ongoing quality of Ian Happ. Suzuki has 27 home runs. He's definitely tapered off in the second half. 241 ISO still for the season, a 122 WRC plus, and monster power, monster premium contact with that 18.1% barrel rate. He's down to 4,100 on DraftKings, 35 on FanDuel, holding strong. The Cubs are cheap on DraftKings. Holy shit. Top 5 for the Cubs, average price $39.40 against Tyler Anderson. What are we doing? That's probably the stretch I want, those 5. That's 4,000 on the nose. If you did this and left Ian Happ out of it, you're at $37.40 a piece for the 5-man. And Owen Casey definitely deserves that. Top prospect for this team. He's got a home run on the board in his 18 plate appearances. Very intriguing hitter for 2,300 on DraftKings. If you went around PCA, you bring that price even further down. Obviously, PCA is really, really good. Nobody's saying he's not. Nobody's saying you want to skip him. But if you want to bring that price down to $3,500 a man for the Cubs against Tyler Anderson, with Ian Happ, Seiya Suzuki, Carson Kelly, Dansby Swanson, and Owen Casey in your lineup, that is the path. That's really appealing. Let me know when they confirm this. I'm sure I'll talk through it. Right on time as we're talking about the Cubs. Our pal Dennis, ex-Cubs fan, like this slate's pitching. I have a big, broad midsection. So do we all, my friends. Cubs asking Higgy or Jeffers. Was that Rangers lineup that we were looking at confirmed? Yeah, Higgy in the 5 is really interesting. Between Jock and Rowdy. I would probably lean that way slightly. Jeffers is also hitting 5th. He's having a tremendous year. Higgy maybe gives you a little bit of a shot at a lower owned home run. I don't think you're going wrong with either one of those options, though. Hate to fence it on you. Burleson scratch Church into the 9 hole according to Power for the Cards. R. Jones saying Buxton being sucking big time as of late. Again, we don't really worry about as of late, especially not with a player like Byron Buxton. We just know for certain that Byron Buxton, when healthy, is just one of the best hitters in baseball. Full stop. He's a superstar. The only thing preventing him from just being an immediate name a superstar in baseball answer has been injury over the course of time. Going back to the 11th, his return from, was it another stint on the IL, I think? Yeah, 26th to the 11th. 175, 233, 350, a 52 WRC plus, pair of home runs. Yeah, he's been bad over that stretch. We're talking about 43 plate appearances. It's not, come on. It's not overly relevant. So still no Cubs confirmed. Carson Kelly, presumably somewhere in this territory. Solid catcher option for only 3,800. 13 home runs, a 187 ISO, major premium contact. Excellent option. Low strikeout, high walk this year. PCA at just 48 at 35, 27 homers, 30 stolen bases. He's declined a little bit. We're sub 300 on base, most concerningly now, but still a 336 XWOB, a 254 ISO. Monster season out of PCA. And you're really honestly not even being taxed on DraftKings for what he's already done. That price has come back down pretty dramatically. He was a $6,000 player for a while. Dansby's super cheap at 37.28 for his career history, for the premium contact he's made this year, the 18 home runs, the 10 stolen bases. That's just cheap for what he's doing. Casey has mentioned top prospect 2,300, 2,200. Very interesting. Justin Turner, it's going to just turn to dust at the plate one of these days, but very, very cheap down lineup. Mix and match caliber. Low strikeout, high walk still. Not a lot of output. And then Matt Shaw, 11 homers, 15 steals, mix and match caliber at third base. The Angels, if you're choosing to attack Ben Brown, I mean, like I said, I do expect some of that power to come through against the premium contact that Ben Brown allows. It's just if you get the version of Ben Brown that's missing bats like crazy for his 5 innings, then it gets real problematic real fast to have Angels in your lineup. But 4.45 implied total Vegas kind of believes. I think you can ride with some power. Mike Trout at 10.91 in the home run model. Zach Neto, 8.94. Neto's got 21 homers to go with 22 stolen bases, a 119 WRC plus. Trout's got 20. Taylor Ward's got 29. A couple spots later, Joe Adell at 28. Joel Moncada, over 202 plate appearances, has been ripping the ball with 9 home runs in that small sample. Each one of those guys is over a 200 ISO. Stuck in between those guys at this 2-spot, cheap first baseman Nolan Schanuel, 357 on base to reset the table for all those high-quality power bats behind him. Excellent way to find some correlated scoring in this lineup of a lot of individual contributors, given all those home runs. But it is a high-quality Angels lineup. I mean, this is a big-time WRC plus number. That's a 117 average across the top 6 for WRC plus. We hit the skids a little bit when we get down toward the bottom of the lineup, but Logan O'Hoppe at 3,600, don't rule him out. He's got 18 home runs and 374 plate appearances this year, down to a 179 ISO. He's slipped a little bit over the last month or so, but still making major premium contact, just a lot of strikeout and not that much walk. So not a 3 true outcomes guy, but a home run hunt type of a catcher. Christian Moore's underdeveloped for sure, 191, 300, 330, but the kid's got a hit tool hiding in there. And then Bryce Teodosio is giving you an adequate 50 plate appearances. Mix and match quality from the bottom of the lineup, major contributors up toward the top. I'm intrigued by the Angels, especially if you can get them at lower ownership, but it wouldn't stun me if Ben Brown ripped through this lineup for a handful of innings, or was ripping through the lineup for a handful of innings, then ran into a inning where he walked 2, gave up a 3-run home run, gave up another home run after that, and came out with a 4-run day that could have been a lot better. That's very much in the cards for Ben Brown here. Cubs bats way up top, followed by Angels bats, then Ben Brown, and it's really a DraftKings play again. I don't think you can be competitive at 72 with some of the top end today. And then Tyler Anderson not really on the board. 3 games to go. Dodgers, Padres, Yu Darvish, Blake Snell. Padres lineup is in. So both these guys, limited sample so far this season due to injuries. Darvish pitching to a 5.97 ERA with a 4.36 xFIP, limited 21.7%. Strikeout, kind of average overall, but finding his swinging strikes in the small sample. He made 2 good starts and then some bumpy ones along the way. 2 starts ago against the Giants, 6 innings, 1 run, 6 strikeouts, no walk. The 1 run came on a solo homer. 2 starts prior to that faced the Mets. Gem of a start, 2-hitter, shut them out over 7 innings, came away with 7 strikeouts, no walk. His most recent start, 4 innings against the Dodgers, 4 earned runs, 5 strikeouts, 2 walks, 2 home runs allowed against these Dodgers. Against the Diamondbacks, 3 earned runs over just 4 innings, 8 earned runs over 3 1/3 in one of his first starts back against the Cardinals. Pretty limited outings that damaged the overall numbers, but every now and then he's breaking off capable starts. It's a low strikeout, 22.7 for this version of the Dodgers lineup, actually. Yeah, there are some Ks on deck here. Typically, they're a lower strikeout team than this overall. Freddie underperforming his strikeout rate, his historic strikeout rate by a few points this year. Ohtani underperforming his strikeout rate from the last couple seasons while still being fantastic. So maybe a few Ks on deck for $6,200 Yu Darvish. I would call him a dart throw. 76 on FanDuel, I'm skeptical. You do obviously have the ability to book 7 innings, though. 93, 10-2 for Blake Snell, 16-point projection on DraftKings, double that on FanDuel, 1.80 ERA, but a concerning 4.01 xFIP, 22.9% strikeout, 11.9% walk, has always been a pitcher who finds his Ks but also walks hitters, 13.7% swinging strike rate, doesn't give up much in terms of premium contact and power, keeps the ball down at an 8.4 degree average launch over these 5 starts, the 25 innings. Just a low strikeout Padres team on the other side. Snell did go 6 in his most recent start on the 16th. 5-hitter against this Padres team. 3 strikeouts, 2 walks, though, to speak to the low strikeout nature of the Pods. That start is probably available to you today. Don't know that it comes with too many more strikeouts, though. So maybe a little bit of a more limited ceiling for Blake Snell than we would be used to dealing with at aggressive prices. Dodgers bats. Ohtani is Ohtani. He's fully priced, but he's ridiculous. Mookie Betts at 47 at 32. The price is down a little bit while still being kind of high for a guy with a 93 WRC plus, just a 126 ISO this year. We know what Mookie really is, but I don't know if we ever see him again. I assume we do. This is probably just a 1-year dip, but he's also getting older. Maybe there's an actual diminishment going on. Even with that, just 10.6% strikeout, 9.3% walk. You get a lot of walks, you get a lot of balls in play. I think Mookie Betts is still hiding in there somewhere. Will Smith is 48-35, one of the top catcher options on any given slate. 15 home runs, a 198 ISO. Freddie Freeman, even with some underperformance for strikeout this year, 303, 376, 493, a 140 WRC plus. 16 home runs. The power's gone down a little bit as well for Freddie, but he's still tremendous. One of the best ways to fill first base, and the price is down. Teoscar at 46 at 31, 21 home runs, a monster power bat with a 219 ISO. Andy Pajas having a great year, 21 homers, 13 steals. Conforto still hits the ball very, very hard, struggling for any kind of quality or consistency over 393 plate appearances, not even really finding power output for the 9% barrels, only 9 home runs, a 133 ISO, but a capable left-handed bat that can still hit the ball hard, cheap, under-owned for DFS. Alex Freeland not really finding the quality over his 66 plate appearances so far. Need to give him a minute, but he's a way to make your Dodger stack cheaper. Buddy Kennedy, probably not as good as Alex Freeland. Padres bats. Fernando Tatis from the top, still stuck at 17 home runs in an otherwise decent season. There's nothing wrong with that slash line. The counting stats are tremendous if you just ignore the name. 382 xWOBA. You can bring the name back into the conversation around that. 10.6% barrel, 52.1% hard hit. Just ride the cheaper pricing if you're choosing to target Blake Snell. It's just Snell's not a great target for Padres bats. You can see that in the sub-4 total. Luis Ariz at 35-26, a solid slap hitter. Very good for average correlated scoring. Not much else than that. Manny Machado at 48-34, 21 home runs, 12 steals, a 136 WRC plus. Tremendous season out of Manny. And then you get a pretty cheap run of quality here. Ryan O'Hearn, Xander Bogaerts, Gavin Sheets, Ramon Laureano, all having pretty decent seasons. All sub 4,000 is the 4,100, is the highest price among those guys. Any 3 of those 4 hitters in a stack is perfectly fine. / desirable if you're choosing to target Blake Snell. And if you want to target Snell, you're getting one of the higher quality offenses overall in baseball to do it with, and they'll be low owned. So there are at least arguments to be made for taking some Padres here as a contrarian type stack. Bogey's got a 105 WRC plus, 136 for O'Hearn. Gavin Sheets at 114. O'Hearn's been up and down since joining the pods, but still a high-quality lefty. Laureano from the right side, 13.1% barrel, 48.6% hard hit to throw at the lefty. 19 home runs on the season, a 245 ISO. Doesn't really draw a walk. You want some guys in here that would exploit the walk rate a little bit more, but this is a low strikeout team, so you're going to get some balls in play out of the pods. Cronenworth, Freddie Freeman, pretty decent way to round things out. Cronenworth's always in play as a mix and match infielder with a good on base, good correlated scoring skill set. And then Freddie Freeman, a very, very cheap catcher who hits for average. He doesn't do a lot else, but he's low strikeout, medium walk, puts a lot of balls in play, and finds success via batting average, via BABIP. Blake Snell, but it's probably closer than you would otherwise think. Dodgers bats. Yu Darvish on DraftKings. Padres bats, I think. But everything is kind of just a big mishmash there. The one thing I don't really like is the Darvish 76 on FanDuel, and even that is honestly very, very playable. Again, if he's got his stuff, that deep arsenal of pitches, if anything in that arsenal is working, you could get 7 innings of quality. Trying to get through these games without completely shortchanging them. Zach Littell's a target for Diamondbacks bats and not much more. He is a low walk pitcher. You got to give him that, but low strikeout as well. Plenty of premium contact available. 3.52 ERA defied by that 4.22 xFIP. The xFIP is still a reasonable number. You could play that pitcher, but why throw him into a Diamondbacks team in a home game with a 4.383 implied total, especially when you've got a lower priced pitcher who's a better option on the other side going up against the Reds. Ryan Nelson, 3.58 ERA, but a 4.01 xFIP, 21.6% strikeout against 6.6% walk. Low quality as far as swinging strikes, CSW. Okay as far as the power output. He's saved by limiting barrels a little bit. 91.3 miles an hour of exit velo and 43.7% hard hits are both over our threshold on a fly ball trajectory. 2.84% home runs. Maybe could be over 3 and change. But he's been effective over his last basically 30 starts now. He's up to 16 this season. The back half of last year was good. It's just a underappreciated pitcher going up against a Reds team that is pulling a 4.27 implied total. That's believable. They have some strikeout around some of their best bats. This number is bolstered a little bit by some low numbers from low-end hitters on either end of the lineup. If you just take the guys out of the heart of the Reds, that's a 23.9% strikeout rate. This is targetable enough for Ryan Nelson. Wouldn't shock me at all if they beat him. Put 5-6 runs on his head, but he doesn't melt down all that often. And there is upside. Very cheap pricing. If you go into Reds bats, good news, their lineup is confirmed, as is the Diamondbacks, as are most of the lineups on this slate as we are rapidly approaching lock. It'll only take me a minute or two to get everything updated on the website after the show. The website, by the way, if you're new, rotoscouts.com. Check everything out over there. You get access to anything that hits that website for all the major sports for under $1 a day. One same dollar a day. No per sport fees, no nonsense. TJ Friedl, top of the Reds. Cheap, 37-31, 10 home runs, 11 steals, a 367 on base is what you want at him, the 110 WRC plus. Great option for correlated scoring, low strikeout, high walk guy, ideal for that. Gavin Lux following immediately in this confirmed lineup at 31-27, does a lot of the same things. That's 2 dynamite table setters to have ahead of Ellie De La Cruz. If one's not on, the other will be, and very likely to have both those guys on base for Ellie. 19 home runs, 31 stolen bases for him, a 115 WRC plus. Premium contact galore. He's cut strikeouts significantly while maintaining an exact same walk rate as last year. He's made strides. Even if you think he's underperforming overall, he's probably not. Austin Hayes at 4,000 at 3,000. 10 home runs, a 104 WRC plus, 312 pretty good plate appearances, a solid barrel rate. A little deceptive maybe in the early power output. Not that he can't hit home runs, not that we haven't seen him do it in years past, but he kind of normalized pretty quickly. I think what we're seeing here is the real Austin Hayes. Nolan Marte at 45-32, 10 home runs and just 221 plate appearances, an excellent slash line, a 220 ISO. Kid's got appeal. 45-32 is not a bad price to pay for that bat. Third base eligibility carrying still on FanDuel. 3,000 for Spencer Steer. He's up to 15 home runs. Decent counting stats overall with 52 runs, 59 ribbies. 90 WRC plus, though. Pretty limited overall as a ongoing bat. Pretty limited in terms of what we might expect from him in the future. But if we're just hunting for counting stats, things that score DFS points, he is available there at a fair price. Ke'Bryan Hayes, low price, low quality. A lot of well-struck balls, but he doesn't cash in on them at all. Jose Trevino, not much of a hitter. Cheap catcher bat, just filler from the bottom of the lineup, though. And then cheap Matty McLean across the middle infield. 11 home runs, 16 stolen bases, decent counting stats. Everything else has been problematic since another player 2 years ago. Diamondbacks with Perdomo in the leadoff spot, 388 on base, a 132 WRC plus, just one of the best table setters in baseball. Hitting ahead of two of the better bats in baseball in Ketel Marte, Corbin Carroll. I love the idea of filling both middle infield spots with Perdomo, Marte, and then just bonusing it with Corbin Carroll there. If you can get to the 5-man, so be it. But as a 3-man, that's great. 4.83 implied total makes them a very appealing stack today. Carroll's got 27 home runs, 17 stolen bases. Marte's got 23 homers, a 254 ISO. Carroll's got a 303 ISO on the season, 139 WRC plus. Those guys are tremendous up top. Lourdes Gurriel's a decent filler behind them, 44-33, 17 home runs, 10 steals, hitting for a little bit of power this year. The consistency has gone away a little bit. Used to be better for average and on base, but I'll take the power. Pavin Smith, 11.6% barrel, 45.9% hard hit, 8 home runs on the board. Most importantly, probably a 365 on base, creating runs 24% better than average while drilling the ball. He's only 3,300 on DraftKings now. First base and outfield 29 on FanDuel. Gabriel Moreno back in the lineup. 273, 24, 414. Another player very appealing for on base with a little bit of pop in the bat. 47.2% hard hits, 17% strikeout against 6.9% walk. Was even better than that on the walk rate the last 2 seasons. Adrian Del Castillo in the lineup as well. Double catcher configuration on your DraftKings slate. He's got a pair of home runs and 75 plate appearances. Pretty good minor league track record. I think the fact that they're working them both into the lineup certainly speaks volumes for how good he could potentially be. But I'd probably rather have Gabriel Moreno for a cheaper price now at $3,200. Blaze at 31-26, 4 home runs, 2 stolen bases, and 135 chances, a 101 WRC plus. Solid premium contact numbers, kind of delivering on expectations from his minor league pedigree. And then Alec Thomas having an okay year at the bottom of the lineup, just an 86 WRC plus, but filling some counting stats in only 375 plate appearances. Mix and match quality outfielder. Diamondbacks bats, Ryan Nelson. Reds bats, Zach Littell looking more like a target than anything else. Don't go anywhere. We've got 1 game left. A's and the Mariners. Jacob Wilson back in the A's lineup. It's a solid player to add into the mix. Fantastic hit tool. The A's are going up against Brian Wu, a tremendous pitcher, one of the top options on the slate here at the end of the night. Little late night pitching hammer. Wu coming away with a 25.5% strikeout rate against 4.7% walks, 3.02 ERA, and a 3.51 xFIP, sub-1 whip, 12% swinging strikes. He has given up a little bit in terms of barrels, hard hits, exit velo, but not in a problematic sense. 3.67% home runs. Maybe it plays into some of the A's power. You do have the top 3 hitters in the A's lineup above the magic number. Tyler Soderstrom not far behind, but Wu is tremendous. As mentioned at the beginning of the show, at least 6 innings in every single start this year. 24 starts, 6 innings in all of them. Quality start in almost all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 18 quality starts out of 24 starts this season. Only 6 of them did he not find the quality start. Last 3 games, 6 innings, 8 strikeouts against the Mets. 6 innings, 9 strikeouts against the Rays. 3 runs allowed in that one. 7 innings, 9 strikeouts against the White Sox with 1 run allowed. 3 straight 6 strikeout games. The downside is like 6 strikeouts. This is bolstered a little bit by the 9.6 from Hernandez and the return of Jacob Wilson at just 7.8% strikeouts. But if we zero those out and we just focus on the power hitters and the rest of the lineup, that's a 7-man 23.6% strikeout rate. So there are Ks on deck for Brian Wu. You've got a major shot at the quality start, 10-5, 10-6, totally works. Yeah, maybe the A's capitalize on a little bit of the premium contact that's available, but it's most likely going to come with nobody on base and be in the form of a solo homer, a 2-run homer that is not all that damaging. Luis Morales, 6,500, 7,400. Last time out, 5 innings, 5 strikeouts, 2 walks, just 1 earned run, 5 hits against the Angels. That kind of a day is probably in the cards. You probably do not have all that much more beyond that in play, though. Not completely fully stretched out as a major league starter yet. 65-74. The kid's got a little ability, but he's also walked a bunch of hitters at the major league level, 20.9% strikeouts against 18.6% walks in the 9 2/3. The first start against the Orioles lasted just 2 2/3. Didn't allow a run, didn't allow a hit. Struck out 4, but walked 5. Doesn't really work. I think we probably forgo the cheap price against an excellent Mariners lineup that has a 4.78 implied total, even with the pitcher's park working on his side. A's bats, just a 3.35 implied total for them. You're really just home run hunting. The way the A's might work best today is in the form of just one-offs. Any given A's power bat in any given lineup, perfectly fine. You could maybe get to the power downside that Brian Wu does come with a little bit. As a stack, though, they're a little diminished for quality because Wu is more than capable of powering through that. Kurtz from the top spot, 61 and 4,000, one of the most expensive players in fantasy baseball now. Because why not? 315, 404, 650, a 184 WRC plus, a 334 ISO. I don't recall seeing a rookie quite this good. 5,300, 3,500 for Shea Langoliers, 28 home runs, monster improvement in the strikeout rate as we've discussed throughout the season. 5,036 for Brent Rooker, 22% strikeout for him. He's made major strides yet again. It's like 3 straight year-over-year improvement years for Brent Rooker. 25 home runs in 563 chances, a 222 ISO. Tyler Soderstrom, 12.4% barrel, 50% hard hit, 23 homers, an excellent season for him in really his first full season. Jacob Wilson, over 396 plate appearances, slashing 312, 354, 439. He's got 10 home runs despite a general lack of premium contact and power. Situational power is, he's a Stephen Kwan type in that regard. 119 WRC plus. We prefer him up here, but they're getting so much out of Kurtz in terms of on base power and everything else that you just want him to have those plate appearances. I would probably make the sacrifice though and go Wilson 1, Kurtz 2, Langoliers back down to 5 going forward. I think that would be the best configuration here. Larry Butler at 4,000, 2,900, excellent multi-category contributor. Just ignore the ugly slash line that he's put up this year. Focus on the 17 homers, 17 steals, 69 runs, and 51 ribbies. Again, nothing predictive about any of those numbers really. But those are good counting stats that all played up for DFS. Needs to get on base. Obviously needs to deliver. But he is more than capable of creating DFS points. 33.27 for Darrell Hernaiz is pretty cheap. 261, 337, 420 slash line, a 105 WRC plus. Then we get to JJ Bleday, Brett Harris, mix and match options from the bottom of the lineup. Bleday does have 10 home runs and only 280 chances this year. That comes on, infrequent quality contact. A lot of strikeouts, but decent walk rate as usual from Bleday. He's always playable. He's never a priority. And then we round things out with the top of the Mariners lineup. Randy Arozarena always in play. 7.20 on the home run model. Probably could be a little bit higher. 11.8% barrel, 50.8% hard hit so far this year, 23 homers, 24 steals. He's been absolutely fantastic throughout the season, a 126 WRC plus. Cal Raleigh, a 160 WRC plus, 47 homers, 14 stolen bases. We talked about the other day, hit a little bit of a slowdown period, but overall phenomenal, outrageous, ridiculous season. 25 homers, 23 stolen bases from Julio now. How high can we go in the last month of the season? 122 WRC plus. Ridiculous output in the second half. Josh Naylor at 49, 31, 15 homers, 22 steals, 282, 346, 443. Monster season out of Naylor. I believe he's still leading the league in second half stolen bases. Ridiculous output in that category for him. 119 WRC plus overall in the season. Guy stole 6 bases last year, 10 the year before that, 6 the year before that. He was wow, Josh Naylor's a really good bat who every now and then surprises you with a stolen base too. Now he is just a stolen base threat. It's a weird change. Junior Suarez down to 4,900, 3,400. He's got 39 home runs on the season. He hit a definite slowdown when he came to Seattle. Seems like he doesn't really like hitting in this home ballpark of theirs, which is problematic in the overall. But against a young developing pitcher, there's major upside for power there. 12.09 in the home run model. Jorge Polanco's gotten cheap. He's got 18 home runs, up and down kind of a season, but obviously still very capable of driving the ball. Luke Raley's a really interesting lefty at 3,000, 2,500. Bad season, over 173 in and out of the lineup type plate appearances outside of getting on base at an adequate clip. Last year in 455 chances, 22 home runs, 11 stolen bases. That is an interesting player from down lineup. JP Crawford is super interesting. Down to a 358 on base, but that's still a stellar on base percentage. It's just it's down for a guy who was at 380, 390 for most of the season. 392 years ago, diminished quality last year, low strikeout, high walk, excellent way to fill shortstop, and an excellent wraparound guy to grab from the 8th spot and put ahead of these guys up top and save some money. You do that, it's going to be high priced anyway. You got to make a sacrifice among the high quality guys. Let's say you just top 4'd it with him in there. You're at 5,000 exactly. So yeah, that's still kind of high. Unfortunately, that's my easiest sacrifice. And I'll just take Gino and get the same power expectation. Brings it down by $220, $47.80. It's still a very high price. Don't get me wrong. Cole Young in the bottom spot. 212 pretty low-end plate appearances, but at league average for run creation, playable. Low strikeout, high walk. Brian Wu, Mariners bats right behind him. A's one-off powered darts. Then, yeah, A stacks kind of pretty low-end, and then Luis Morales looks like a stretch. And that, gang, was our last game, fortunately. I'm going to scroll over here. It's 6:25. I got to get the projections updated for the last half hour of lineup building. This is your pitching board. 2 aces up toward the top. Lot of usability through the mid-range. Playable, but lower end value options. I would say Quintana's probably better than Savali there, despite what the projections might look like. Savali, fairly low end, but extremely, extremely cheap, as is Cade Povich, as is Yu Darvish is very cheap. A little bit more expensive for each of those guys on the FanDuel slate. McLean's really problematic at those prices. You have a few of those spots. I don't like the idea of Zach Littell at 85 on FanDuel. I don't love the idea of Casey Mize at 95 on FanDuel. A little bit more generous pricing on the DraftKings slate. A lot of just bad down here. A lot of targets for bats in that territory of the pitching board. Let me punch out, guys. Only a handful of people watching here anyway. Seager or Witt? Who Witt? Who are you talking about, Anthony? I'm not coming up with whoever that is. Dodgers dropped Ohtani in. Yeah, I figure. I know he missed yesterday. Ohtani, Betts, Smith, Freeman, Teoscar, Conforto, Pajas, Freeland, Kennedy. I think that's what we had. Let me punch out of here, though. It looks like only the Cubbies are holding back their lineup so far. So I got some lineup updating to do. Let me get that up on the website, and you guys can go build your lineups with it, and so can I. Oh, duh. Bobby Witt. The way that Anthony spelled it, W-H-I-T, I was thinking Whit Merrifield, and I got stuck on that, and I could not get out of it. But yeah, Bobby Witt makes a lot more sense. Either, you're quibbling between two absolute stars there. I would say Seager for the matchup. Better matchup for him against Slate Ciccone than for Bobby Witt against Casey Mize, but there's nothing to say that Bobby Witt's not going to get to Casey Mize, let alone could he. But yeah, that would be, I would lean slightly Seager there on that matchup. Nice quick show today. Yeah, 2 hours and 36 minutes. Monster slate, 13 games. Good luck out there tonight, gang. Somebody go win something. Share those results when you do at rotoscouts on Twitter or in the free premium Discord, which is linked in the description of the video. Projections will be updated within the next 3 to 5 minutes. See ya.